Hey, good morning, everybody. This is Shanthan Jetty. This is Shanthan Jetty Art. I want to welcome Admiral Wackass to the chat here. It's good to see you, my friend. Doing a little morning painting today. Going to keep it a little quiet because I've got some little people of Stonehenge in the house who are resting. But I'm glad you could be here and glad to see you. So I'm working on the page that you saw me post the layout of on Twitter the other day, and I'm kind of roughing things in right now. And I did a big, kind of attacking the page with one large wash the other night, and that's what I posted on Twitter today. And I wanted to kind of go in and do some more work and sort of, show you guys a little bit more of the process here, and that's what we're going to be doing. And so I hope everybody had a really good weekend. They got some rest in. I want to say congratulations to John Malin on an absolutely fantastic launch on Graveyard Shift 4, and I hope everybody's had a chance to go out and back and support that work. Just fantastic. I should also say I want to congratulate Mark Polton. I want to congratulate the incredible creative team who are doing all of the work on the supplemental on that series, which includes my brother from another mother, Phil Diaz, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, it's great to see that project having such a great launch, and we'll go from there. So let's see here. The figure I'm working on right now, if you've seen the layout page, is a foreground figure that kind of breaks up the frame a little bit. There's a bunch of things happening on this page. And one of the things I've been thinking about as I do these streams is trying to work a little bit more how I work in reality versus, working in the mentality that I'm streaming, which is right now, if you look at the angle of the work and you look at how it looks on camera, what's going on is I've got it balanced on the edge of the desk, and then I have the end of the paper resting in my lap because I usually do all of my work in my lap, or partially propped on my lap. So there you go. Here's a look at how I actually work. And I think ultimately it's going to make it easier for me to do this stuff, and it's going to be more beneficial to you guys because, I've realized that it's hard for me to stream and do artwork on stream if I'm not doing it the way that I actually am accustomed to doing it. And a lot of that has to do with, trying to make sure that you guys are having the best experience possible. But I also want to make sure that you guys have the best book that's possible. And that's going to require me to make sure that I'm working effectively and efficiently. So here you go. And had a very, just had a very productive weekend with the story. And, that it's hard to describe what that is because, or how that works because, we start with stories. We start with the ideas that we have for these streams, and we start with the ideas that we have for these books, and we start with, some concept of what we want to do when we start any endeavor. And the hope, at least for me, is that it's going to, as you kind of are on the ground making the thing happen, that it's going to exceed those objectives or exceed your hopes for the project. And I think that this book is definitely doing that. I think it's going to be such a great book for people to have in their collection. And I'm kind of, how do I describe it? I'm kind of excited. I feel like I'm making a story that is really a classic. And and by that, I mean, it's a good story. It's a story that works. And that's one of the best bits of advice that I ever got about writing was the number one objective you need to have whenever you're creating a work of project, you're trying to tell a story, is make sure first and foremost you're telling a story that works. And this story has so many beautiful character elements to it, so many things that are first appearances and set up the world. I always think about it like this: if this project is comes out half as well as I think it's going to, I might be biased. Everybody who backs this book and gets in on the first issue on this is going to have something that they're going to say, yep, I was there. I have one of those copies of that book. The very first appearance of this character, the very first, origin story. It introduces this character, it introduces this part of the world. Like, it is where it all started. And that sort of thing comes from not trying to make that happen, but I think it comes from trying to just tell a good, solid story. Oh, wow, Admiral, you've typed some stuff in there. Let me see. Only person who showed up to office, everything in building messed up, printer has, oh no, half a day's worth of jobs printing because no one else can change a toner cartridge. Oh my lord. Admiral, I am so sorry to hear that, man. That's a hell of a way to start the Monday. But yeah, I've been there, man. I've been there. I remember when I was teaching college, I had a student who was lamenting the fact that the classroom trash can, and thank you, by the way, for saying it looks great. It was lamenting the fact that the all weekend the trash cans that were in the classroom, the small trash cans, were just overflowing, and there was trash all over the floor. And kind of just, this is horrible. Like, why is this happening? And me, as a professor, went and I said, "Are you waiting for someone to fix it?" And he's like, going, "Yeah." I go, "Let me show you why I am where I am." And I walked over, picked up the trash can, went out to the larger bins we have out in the hall, and poured it, emptied it, brought it back, and go, "Look, problem solved." And when you're that kind of person, when you're the kind of person that you are, where you solve problems, you know how to do things, you're invaluable. And it boggles the mind. It's both a source of pride and a source of frustration. But I don't have to tell you that. I know you know that well. And you just think, how is it that people? There's this movie with Owen Wilson and Jackie Chan that I love. I saw in the theater. I just really enjoyed it. Made me laugh. Called Shanghai Noon. And there's a moment where he's fighting this marshal who's kind of like a corrupt marshal and villain who's working with the bad guys. And he's such a bad shot. He looks at Owen Wilson and he goes, "How do you survive out here?" It always makes me laugh. I'm a whack ass. It's the problem of being, the only competent among only incompetent. It's true, man. Yes, and hello, John. It's good to see you here in the chat. I hope you're having a great day, and I hope that that all of you guys know that we here appreciate your competence. We appreciate the fact that you know how to do these things. I was at the pharmacy the other day, and the pharmacist, who's a really nice person. I've known her for years. You know how it is, small town. You go to the same pharmacy, you get to know people. And she was feeling similarly frustrated as being one of the core competent people there. And it just was, she really just needed somebody to talk to say, "Hey, man, I'm absolutely, frustrated. I feel like, she had some health issues from, frankly, the stress of the job and being that competent person, and took a couple of months off medical leave. Like, basically, her doctor ordered her to. They were like, your heart ain't doing so hot, so you need to take a break before things get more serious." And I was talking to her, just was telling her how much I appreciated her, and you could just tell how much it meant. It's really, really important to make sure that the people who are showing up, as they say, and getting things done, know that we appreciate them. And it's never lost on people when you do. And there's like a million times a day where I think that we can let somebody know, even if it's a phone call to somebody, it's a letter to a teacher. Those are the things that I always say. I've done that from some teachers I've had, and for some people who've been really helpful for me. And I think, whether the person reads it or not, sees it or not, or processes it or not, it's always a good thing to hear. Always a good thing to hear. Adjust my glasses here. They're falling off my nose, which is, they have no excuse to do because I have a decent sized nose. I was laughing because I saw a stream once where where Ethan and Cecil were talking about Nosfero, and they said, "Wait a second, is this character, the Ethan character, Nosferatu?" And I went, "Wait a second, that's something my wife has been calling me for the longest time, so I'm claiming that nickname of Nosferatu. Ethan doesn't get to have that." Oh, hey, man. I appreciate you, and I'm glad you appreciate the stream, man. That's why I'm here. That's why I love doing it. And thanks for showing up, and to both of you guys too as well. It's that's what we do here, guys. That's what we do. We show up and we get it done. And I always love that expression when someone says, "Hey, how are you doing today?" I always go, I can walk, but I can't dance, but I can get it done." And I think that's one of the important things when we're working is, when I show up to the board, I've heard a lot of artists and illustrators talk about this. I don't know if it's talked about enough, but they say, "What's the most important thing to becoming a better artist?" And they go, "Waking up every morning and going to the board, regardless of how you feel." Mike Tyson, I heard him say that Customato, his coach, said to him, "The definition of discipline is doing something that you don't want to do as if you love it." And I do think that that discipline is such a huge factor for comic creation, for any job that we have, guys. It's such a huge part. Just take a look here. Just my glasses. Yeah. Good morning. That's another thing I got to remind myself to say. Good morning to you guys. I appreciate you being here. It's such a simple thing to say, but it really is something that I think is always good. Always good to make sure we say to one another, hello, hail, good morning, all of our usuals that we do. Because, it makes the world a better place. That's the key. Let's see if I can get this figure sorted out here. Baby on Fred Astaire. There you go. I love it. Oh, man, I was watching a performance that he did later on in life that makes the rounds on YouTube every now and again. And, that guy could move. Yeah, that guy could move. Holy cow. Now, because you said that you're changing the toner, and you're the only person who understands how a copy works, all of a sudden I just saw Rich Meister, the copy guy from SNL, and pictured you interacting with him. So apologies. Work is the work is the state of being in which you have to stop and think to figure out how you're feeling. Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right. I know I have to do that. Hey, what's up, Megs Doodles? Good morning to you. Absolutely. Megs Doodles says, good morning, Shanth, John, and Admiral Wackass. And we say good morning to you. That's how that goes. Yeah, absolutely. Where would we be without these good mornings? They're essential. They're essential to our purpose. So, Yeah, absolutely, guys. I still think that it's just the best truth in advertising, but I think that Michael Bancroft's Cheers intro to his stream is such a wonderful it's such a wonderful part of what he does, and it so encapsulates him as a person, just a real positive guy. And I think it also encapsulates what's important about CG, what's important about what we do here. It's feeling like as a customer, feeling like as a fan, feeling like as someone who is a part of this wonderful hobby / passion of ours, that you get to be around like-minded people who are similarly passionate about it. Love it. Love comics, love funding comics, love creating comics. It's a hell of a thing, and it's a wonderful thing to be obsessed with and enjoy. I know I've been obsessed with it since I was a kid, and I can't imagine my life without it. Just such a fun process, fun thing to do. Let me adjust my glasses here. Bad Crow Comics, dang, Sean's Breakfast Club. Yeah, Sean's Breakfast Club. It's absolutely right. Yeah. That's one of my wife's favorite movies, by the way. Early morning, elderly people walking outside always say good morning. It's very refreshing. Yeah, it absolutely is. Rich Meister. Didn't run until I saw a young Shiner. Yeah, that's absolutely right, man. Admiral, the Admiral Meister. Yeah, the whack-ass-ometer. Changing the toner. God, that was such a hilarious. Oh, man. The things that make me laugh. What are you going to do? All right, cool. So we're getting her sort of roughed in here. And then let me take a look and see what her arms are doing. Her arms are kind of draped. She's sort of influenced by I can't know if I can pronounce her name. I think it was Ute, Yutte, and then I forget what her last name was, like Sasgard or something like that. And she was in a movie called a horrendously bad movie by all people's accounts in the Karnstein Hammer horror trilogy called Lust for a Vampire. And but there was a sequence where she sits up and she's covered in blood, which is kind of the feel I'm going for with this one, is to try to get, the Hammer horror thing. I'm going to move this. Whoa. I'm going to move this a little bit closer just so I can read it a little easier. There we go. Yeah. And so, yeah, that's pretty much what, what she is in terms of this page. And then, of course, this is the backstory. This is the origin for Nosfero. So I'm kind of, I've got 2 pages of that are currently being put on the board. And one of the things, it might sound sort of absurd, but one of the things that I loathe doing the most in terms of prep is just tearing down the sheets of paper to the right size. So I work on things for a while, and then I just go, all right, let's get out the bone folder, score the paper, tear it down, and then I'm ready to work. Then I go, hey, what's up, Scottsley? Hail to you, brother. Good to see you. And it's one of those things that, as funny as it sounds, it's like when you've got a billion other things always going on. Actually, let me move the layouts where I can see them, because I do need to make sure that the layouts are visible for me, because there's some subtleties that I solve when I'm working out my layout pages that I want to make sure that I have as I work, and have them. Hey, what's up? Yeah, howdy all from Bad Crow Comics. I always love hearing a good howdy in the chat, guys. It's always nice to see. Reminds me a little bit of home. And then let me see here. I'm going to grab this red, and I'm going to mix that in there. I feel like I should really practice my Bob Rossing and go, I'm going to mix up a little bit of titanium white. And then we're going to go in here and just put a little wash right in there. It's okay. There we go. There's that value. I shudder to think what Bob Ross would say if he was doing this particular painting right now. Then we're just going to put that breast in right there. And maybe that breast has a friend right over here on the right side that lives right over there. There you go. Like it. Just like it. Oh, man. Punchy for a Monday. Oh, my Lord. And maybe that clavicle lives right here next to a scapula. Just like that. It's your world. You can do whatever you want. But bad anatomy is bad anatomy. Oh, my God. Yeah. Because Scottsley for the win. Because every breast needs a friend. That's right. That's right. Let's see here. No, our friends are the same sizes. Gets dark real fast here. Gets dark real fast, but sometimes it's got to happen, Yeah. And sometimes it's an anatomical curiosity. Other times it's because the artist needs to get better at painting with gouache. That's right. Yes, he does. But that's okay. That's okay. That's my other favorite Bob Rossism. That's okay. How could anybody have a problem with Bob Ross? Come on now. He's a joy. Gotta love the guy. Hence the joy of painting. Yeah, I think that's the stuff that I think about and laugh the most while I'm painting, It's like, try to imagine Bob Ross dialogue while painting vampires in horror comics. My God. It's just, oh, man. It was funny, too, because John Malin was talking the other night about how Rob Liefeld had this tendency with right eyes, or the eyes that are on the left side if you're looking at the face, to sort of float off to the side. That was a stylistic thing. And then I'll take it back. It was Frege. I think it was Frege talking about it. And then John mentioned it again last night on his stream. And I started thinking about that, how, we all have these leans or these things that we scale wrong when we're drawing as a natural thing. And some things will do totally spot on. And we have to find our tricks and our way of kind of getting around that. And for me, that's one of the things that it's like, no matter how long I've been painting, I'm always trying to figure out, well, what's the trick? What's the trick to make that stuff a little bit stronger, and to make that my anatomical accuracy and all of that. And you find your own way. I mean, it's a little bit like you start out with a rifle that's got a bent sight, and, you kind of have to learn how to compensate it and figure it out. I always think of that scene in RoboCop after he has the fight with Ed 209, which I know it's a little early in the morning for RoboCop talk. But he has that fight with Ed 209, and then his targeting system is screwed up. And then Lewis helps him to correct it by saying, "Are you on target now?" And he's like, yes, and it's off. And then she moves his arm over and goes, okay, now. And that's how he course corrects his targeting. So gotta love it. Gotta love that sort of stuff. And that's how I think about my work, composition. Part of it's intuitive, part of it's playful. You're putting down the marks and you're trying to make things work as best as you can. And then there's another part of it that's just the grind of it, just you kind of have to grind out the things that need to be fixed and need to work. And just like, going in to change the toner, sometimes it's as simple as getting your paper the right scale, adjusting your seat so that you can be more effective when you work, adjusting your camera so it's easier for you to work. I mean, that's what it comes down to. There we go. But yeah, I mean, I had a maybe it's just all the sort of enthusiasm in the air as everybody's launching these campaigns and everybody's just kind of talking about art and things like that. There's this feeling, at least I've been having, of this kind of change in the air, but also this motivation, this excitement, this enthusiasm. And I guess it just really got me creatively going, this weekend when I was working on all this stuff. And I was adjusting, I was doing a lot of work editing videos for my channel. I spent a lot of time trying to get some certain things up to speed for my channel because I want to keep improving it and I want to learn how to, improve my intros. So if you go back and you look at the intro for this video, I did this. Yeah. Constant improvement, John. Absolutely. Yeah. That's the only thing that gives me a sense of purpose. Like perfection is not something I'm ever gonna, figure out. I don't think that, I mean, you can have a perfect, a moment where you feel like you were perfectly in tune with something and you had a moment of excellence. And I think that that's what it's about. But it really is doing the training and doing the practice and it's the habits, right? It's the, we are what we repeatedly do. Excellence then is not a destination, but a habit. And I do think that I love that last bit of the quote, which I never heard until I was older. I usually heard just the other quote, that we are what we repeatedly do. But I love the idea of excellence being really about a habit, being about what we condition ourselves to habituate and do. And for me, it's going to the drawing board. I'm learning to get into the YouTube habit, which is important. But the biggest habit that I'm here for is going to that board and making sure I'm doing this comic and making sure that I'm studying. Hey, what's up, Lord Crackhead? Jeremy, good morning. I hope you've already had your Dunkin' Donuts because you are a New Englander. So chances are you have, unless, of course, you don't do coffee. By the way, that was a great stream with John Malin the other night. Seriously, congratulations, Jeremy. If you guys haven't seen it, it's so worth going back and watching if you need a shot in the arm and some inspiration. But they did a really great stream. I believe it was OC Steve and Aldis and everybody who was there on stream. Really, there are some streams that are really great and kind of inspire us and sort of solidify some of the things that our ambitions, our goals, and our aspirations for the community. And Jeremy, I thought you did a dynamite job. Ew, New England, says Eric the Guapo. Yeah, apologies, sorry. You know how it is. I love it, man. I love it. Is that a Patriots hate or a regional hate? Yeah. Let me see. Malin was in coach mode and on point. Yeah, absolutely. He often is. Thanks. Was a lot of fun talking with Coach, says Lord Crackhead 33. Subscribe to guys, anybody who is not subscribed. I assume all of you guys are because you're the what Stan Lee calls the true believers. But yeah, if you haven't subscribed, please make sure you do. Hi, Lord Cracker 33. Yes, Eric the Guapo. Yeah, Eric the Guapo says both. Now, when I hear both, and I'm going to apologize for this, I am going to assume it's largely New England Patriots, but that's just me. I know how some people are about the Patriots. It's a source of pain. Well, it's funny too because my wife grew up in Dallas. And she was there during, like the heyday of the Cowboys football, like when the Cowboys were essentially what the Patriots had been. And yeah, it was like so funny, like to have a successful team, but also it was so low. The Cowboys were so low. Yeah, you're a Krispy Kreme man. Nope. Yeah, Eric the Guapo was like, no, he's keeping it healthy, I'm guessing. Let me see here. Yeah, Scottsley. Excelsior. Yeah, hail Stan Lee. God bless you. Wow, thank you for everything you've done for us as a creative, as an artist. and for putting stuff out there. And the same thing goes for Jack Kirby. I hope you guys have, are beyond beefs and you're able to, look at the creativity of everything that you've done and the legacy that you've left for this planet and are enjoying yourselves. You deserve it. I do not like donuts. The plot thickens, Eric the Guapo. The plot thickens. So what do you call it? I take it you are healthy. How do you start your morning, Eric the Guapo, out of curiosity? I'm always looking to pick up a new and potentially better habit than the ones I have. So, you can't fall out of the basement. So any habit you have is probably better than a habit that I have. I was obviously watching a stream last night that Ethan was showing, and then I think it was on John's channel. They were showing it of a person who has a malt liquor and Little Caesars pizza habit. So, it takes all kinds, folks. It takes all kinds. Eric the Guapo, you're a stronger man than I, John. Yeah, Eric, you're getting some love in the chat here. Yeah, Stan and Jack are legends. Yeah, it's amazing, to see these two cats, who, had such a huge impact on pop culture, and they just worked. And it's like Jack was, I got to be honest, I know some people aren't massive fans in terms of its classic nature of Jack Kirby's late work, but man, there is so much genius in that stuff. Like there's so many things I love about the just sheer explosive creativity of the New Gods. That work is so breathtaking. I really love it. I don't know if you guys love it, but malt liquor. Yeah. I do my morning workouts. Eric. Yeah. I might need you to sponsor me, my friend. I do my morning workout. Then I eat 2 scrambled eggs. Very nice. With broccoli. Very good. And mushrooms with an apple and banana. Something tells me that you're on a better track. Hello at Steve Worster. Agreed. WM Donuts leave a lot to be desired. Yeah, there you go. Steve Worster. Oh, there we go. Walmart donuts. I have Walmart donuts. They aren't that good. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I saw the chat jumped and I missed that. But yes, I can imagine. Walmart pie, though, apparently is good. John says oatmeal is always a good choice for breakfast. I would agree with that. Oatmeal is great. I used to eat a lot of, some of those. Unfortunately, it was all instant oatmeal, and I really don't. I mean, seriously, it's it's such a personal choice thing for me right now that I only have myself to blame because when I'm working on this book, I'm setting my own schedule, and I really do need to take. Part of me saying, oh, it's all about a habit. Oh, it's all about this. To getting my health sorted out and taking better care of myself is one of the habits that I really should work on and that I'm going to work on. I'm tired of saying I'm going to try to work on shit. I want to get it done. You know what I mean? And granted, it's the same thing with this book. Like I don't have a problem when it comes to sitting at my desk and forcing myself to work. And the things I've been working on lately have been just forcing myself to remember to stream. Because when you're painting, I don't want to act as though it's like, oh, it's this magical thing, this magical place, but it's a little bit like being in the zone. Like, I don't know if you guys have seen, let me just adjust my glasses here. Malt liquor. Yeah. Hello, Steve Worster. Agreed. Hail, John. Hail. Oh yeah, absolutely. Love seeing all the hellos. Everybody's giving $4 a dozen donuts though. Steve Worster for the win. But I was thinking about this where you see those movies where, I think Die Hard 2 was one of the last movies I watched that had it, where the person's working like, where John McClane's trying to do something, he's trying to sneak in somewhere, and then all of a sudden his wife texts him, or calls him or pages him. God, it was the 90s. I forgot about that. Pages him, and then it goes off right as he's trying to do something, stealthily. And for me, there's an element of that when I'm in the zone painting that I have to kind of shut a lot of things out. But I do think one of the most important things that I can do as someone who is in CG and is somebody who's a CG artist is to kind of get beyond that and make sure I'm streaming in front of you guys, because that's a cool part of this. That's what I would have wanted when I was in the 90s, when I was watching my the artists I was huge fans of work. And it's not required, but it is absolutely optimal to be able to take the time to do this stuff, because I want you guys to sort of see what I'm doing. Do you know what I mean? It's I don't want it to ruin your experience of reading the book per se, but I want you guys to know that when you guys back this book, that I am working every single day. Now, I don't believe that if you don't see me working, you think, oh, he's probably not working. I am, but it's it's nice. It's nice to be able to share that with you, for you guys to see what your dollars are going to, which is a lot of it is me ordering brushes, paints. It's the difference between buying a book and backing an artist, you know. And I like to share that stuff with you guys because it's really important to me and it's appreciated. My wife and I were just talking the other day about how much we appreciate all the support we've been getting, and it's not lost on us for a minute. Not lost on us for a minute. Oh gosh, let me make sure the chat didn't jump too much. Hey Steve, $4 doesn't. Okay, cool. Hasn't jumped too much, but it'll probably jump as soon as I turn my head, because that's what I've learned about as I'm learning to be a YouTuber more and more. That this, it's like the watch pot never boils. It's the same thing with the watched chat never jumps until you look away from it. So you guys know how it goes. Someone will type out Homer's The Iliad while I'm turned. Or Michael will pop in here and type out the story of Gilgamesh, and then I'll be up a creek, as they say. Let me see here. Let's see what we got here. Is this more effective marketing than short recorded vids? Wow, that's a really good question. Yeah, actually, I've already done a Mike Barron intro. I think Ethan played it the other night. I'd like to clean it up and do more with it. But yes, I definitely did one. Yeah, I did a Mike Barron intro. I want to do a Kelsey one, of course. But, you know, the thing about, we've talked about some of my ideas for Kelsey. I now have a new one, which is interesting, but that's how it kind of works. It percolates. And I'm going to, yeah, I'm probably going to do a little bit more detailing work on it. What's the last video I sent Ethan? Oh, yeah, the last video I sent to Ethan was the Larry Hama cleanup. I don't know if you guys saw that. He's been playing that one a lot, where he says, I'm Larry Hama and you're watching Comic Artist Pro Secrets. It used to say Comic Art Pro Secrets over it. And so I color corrected it, did a little bit of a zoom, some audio cleanup. Hey, hello, General Piggy. It's good to see you. Yes, and hail to you as well. Yeah, no one formula works for everyone, John. Yeah, that's absolutely right. And I got to say, my audience seems to, because I paint, I think that, I don't know, some people, like, I definitely want to practice and to improve on the short videos. Like I practice to improve on the violin, much to, well, my wife is actually really supportive. She's the one who got me the lessons. She's everything. She's so cool, and a great gal. But I want to work on the short videos because I do have things that I want to make sure I get out there that I think are important and are easier for people who are trying to, you know, learn about CG. And if they're bad, they don't really, I don't know. I think whenever I'm working, I don't think I worry about, you know, as long as I'm working, as long as I'm being productive, that's the main thing. But I can't overstate. I think these people really like to sit back and listen. Yeah. Zoom in, enhance. Yeah, absolutely. People really like to watch these streams. I like to hear people talking and drawing and working and all of that kind of stuff. And it's important to do it, to make sure that your audience, that, you know, if they're into the conversations that you have, you know, and participating in the chat, then, I mean, look, it's a luxury problem to have, that anybody wants to tune in and watch this stuff, guys. It's never lost on me. Never lost on me. And so I just want to make sure I'm showing up and working. Like, priority one is work on the book. Make sure I'm marketing the book, because the bigger and better the book gets, the more it benefits everybody. And, you know, so it's a lot of different things, quality, but number one is just chopping away at the pages and making sure I'm getting them done, because it really is, it's important for people to get to, you know, enjoy the books and get to enjoy what, you know, what you're working on. Let me see if I can move that there. Is that a little better? It's going to, you know, it's going to always have its trouble. A little off topic. Oh, there you go. But have you ever watched McDojo videos? I have not. Should I? And yeah, if going off topic was a crime, I would be on death row. So I'm never going to throw stones at anybody for being off topic ever. That's for sure. But yeah, tell me more. Tell me more, my friend. I'd love to hear about it. I'm sure. I mean, God, there's so many good and great YouTubers out there. It's amazing. It seriously is it's almost like a golden age of radio, so to speak. And you know, it helps me to hone my craft to watch people who are really, really good at it. And it may not be something, you know, that I can do, but I think it always helps. Like Phil, you know, Phil was talking about his pinball visit video today. Like you got to do those experiments, you know, got to push yourself. You know, I mean, that's everything, right? Does your art ever exceed your expectations, or is it always have room for improvement? Wow, that's a good one. That's a good question. Hmm. Yes, it definitely does. Sometimes it exceeds my expectations, and that's how I sort of know I'm in the good place, like where I'm sort of staying loose. Um, oh, I would love his stuff. Oh, cool. Are about fake martial arts. Okay, wait. I think I've watched those. Fake martial artists getting exposed. Yes, I have watched those, and I love them, and they're hilarious. What was it? I was just thinking about that today. God, it's creepy how we have certain things come up. But what was it called? Like slap a where whatever that slapping martial art I was watching, and then the guy who like can anticipate your energy and just gets like cold cocked when he's sitting down on his knees. Is that one of the ones you're talking about? I die when I see those. And Jeremy, thanks for throwing Nosfero in the chat. Yeah, it's funny. I see when I go on streams and when I uh oddly when I post my artwork on Twitter, I found that that's effective. People see my artwork and they want to go back the book, which is really cool. So I guess it's you know, I do everything I can, and I just kind of keep the priority of this. You know, yep, you know it. Slap Mountain. Yeah, no one is no one can ever compete with the genius of Slap Mountain. And I've got to tell you, that's one of the funniest things Shane does. I love those videos. They crack me up. And Shane is a very, very funny guy. I mean, he really him and Yanzi have a really great chemistry together as YouTubers. I was actually talking with my wife about that yesterday. I said, God, you know, they've got such a great you know, a great sensibility to how they view things, and they're clearly super compatible, you know, as a couple. Really effective together too. If I understand, let me know in the chat if I'm wrong on this, but I think that Yanzi inks Shane's work, right? She does a lot of inks on his stuff. Let me know if I'm off on that. But I just think that's incredibly cool that that they work together and that they're such great partners. And I've never had any doubt. I know they're going to be great parents, and they probably already are. But because they're a really great team, really great team. Good folks. We love the Davises. There we go. Let me read here. Yes, I did see it was painful. It wasn't much of a debate, right? Like it was watching. It was more of a circus, but I will tell you, I think that how do I word this? The best part about that debate was watching the dawning horror on the combatant's face when she realized that her partner was much more interested and felt much more of a draw and respect for Shane Davis and his accomplishments on his artwork. That was a really interesting. Like I think when people, it's sort of like this. Was Jordan Peterson's debate with Kathy? I forget what her last name was when he went on that show, and she got caught like realizing, like had a moment of clarity in the middle of it that was totally unexpected. He goes, "Gotcha," in that Jordan Peterson voice. I think that you know that those are great moments, and you kind of watched. I don't know if she was particularly swayed. She seemed pretty locked in, but you watched the guy, Kathy Newman. Thank you. But she watched that guy go, I mean, I have all of your work, and I think I agree with you on a lot of things more than I disagree with you. And it's like going, yeah, have you seen, like, when you put someone who's even remotely capable of changing their mind in front of people and who's there, like, I really got the sense. Now, you guys may have seen more of it than I did because there were a couple of things going on last night, but what do you call it? There were a couple of streams going on last night, but there was also a lot of different stuff going on. But did anyone else notice that about a good Canadian accent on the gotcha? Thank you. I do work to improve it. But yeah, Nerdette has the same mindless arguments that the average Twitter drunk. Absolutely. But she had her evidence. Yeah, but here's the thing that was interesting, right? It's You know, God, if this meme is used one more time, right, the world's going to explode. But someone should do a version of the meme with the guy walking with the girl and noticing the other girl. That was basically what happened to her live on air, which was the person that was in there to sort of be her support system started looking at Yanzi and Shane and going, "This is more what I want to be like." Yeah, and that was like a death blow to the whole scene, regardless of how circular the logic was and how whether it was an actual debate or not. I think it sort of showed that she had nothing to say. And when he heard both sides of the story, he seemed like he was like, "Oh, I'd much rather be with this person." You know, which granted, who wouldn't rather be with Shane and Yanzi? You'd have a much more sane conversation, you know. And I'd certainly like to talk fighting with Shane. You know, I love the fight game. You know, we could also talk about, you know, the fake martial arts, which you gotta love. Um, yeah, I listen, folks. I used to mix it up a little bit when I was a kid, and by that I mean I used to get into fights and get my ass handed to me, which, you know, I would rather do that than back down because I just, you know, was missing that self-preservation gene. And I'll tell you, anybody who's ever been in a real fight and had a good experience. And by the way, when I got off to art school, like, you know, winning fights there was like, you know, winning fights at a preschool, for God's sake. It was just embarrassing. Like, there would be guys who were like a head tall. There was this guy who was a head taller than me and didn't know who he was messing with. I mean, it's art school student again. It's not like a woo. And but he was like talking smack to me when I was a freshman in front of a bunch of freshman girls, and I just turned around, looked at him, and then stiff armed him into the closet. He looked like somebody had flipped a stork over. It was hilarious. And I was like, dude, I welcome the taste of my own blood in my mouth. Like, please screw with me. I do not care. I would love to mix it up with you and have a fight. And I met serious people where it's like your whole goal in life is to your whole goal in life, at least for me, is like to have the sense to know who you don't screw with. You know, it's such a crazy thing. Like, fuck around and find out, I think, is the expression, and I think it works really well, generally speaking. Let me see here. Didn't see that part. Okay. Eric the Guapo didn't see that part, but she had her evidence. John, capitalism is a construct of Marxism which ascribed the motive of greed. Free market is more accurate. Yeah, I think another way of looking at that, John, and I would agree with you 100% there, is that Marxism is the ascribing of one's own personal resentment poison onto both society at large and people you're jealous of. And that's the problem, right? So whenever somebody tells me they see everything, or they see all wealth, you know, gaining and creation of wealth as immoral, and they see it as a symbol of greed, then you know they're driven by greed. They're basically telling you what their motives are. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Anyone would choose CG over, yeah, the Twitterati if they, God, you guys can see how bad I read. If they get the chance to have the open and honest conversation, yeah, of course they would. That is the difference between some who have faced adversity absolutely right and been in conflict, and someone who is not. You're absolutely right. Yeah, I mean, it's like getting your ass kicked and overcoming, you know, adversity, which I don't think, you know, getting your ass kicked is necessarily adversity, particularly if, you know, you're asking for it, which I had my moments of asking for it. But I always said that sometimes I got my ass kicked like you get your order at McDonald's. You know, sometimes you kind of just you just need it, and sometimes you get tired of people fucking with you. Like, you know, it's like I'm sorry to drop the F-bomb this early in the morning, and I am working on myself. Just FYI. But you know, it's like the 30th time somebody, you know, asks you some stupid question. You know, it's. I mean, look, I'm not going to paint the obvious picture. You guys know what I'm talking about. Sometimes you just say to yourself, you know, I'd rather get punched in the mouth than answer it at this point. Like, I'm just so freaking tired. You know, it's like that's the kind of shit that just, you know, that wears on you. And for me, that's the kind of thing. Hey, what's up, Skip? Good morning, my friend. Yeah, and for me, it's like what I love about capitalism, what I love about CG, guys, is that I don't. How do I word this? My responsibility to Nosfero, to this project, and to my fans is clear. To my backers is clear. And if I want to make this book bigger, then I get to try things, and I'm encouraged to try things and innovate, or push myself as far as I can go to make that happen. And then maybe I will do something that is truly innovative, that or not innovative, but is helpful. So, for example, when I do the intro videos for Ethan, or I do any videos, like I'm learning things all the time. Like my work I did on those videos for Ethan directly led to me exploring how could I use my simple understandings of Photoshop, iMovie, and things like that to do a version of my logo that has this glare shine kind of go across it. It's a cheesy effect, but I learned something new about the physics involved in creating that illusion, and it was fun. I learned something. And I know a lot of you guys are similar to me in that you love to learn new things. I mean, shoot, I'm not learning the violin because I think I'm going to be concert standard before I'm dead. That's not going to happen. I'm doing it because the violin is an incredible instrument, and so much of American cultural musical history has been, written on the violin, particularly in the foothills of Appalachia, where I grew up. In Chattanooga, Tennessee. So there's something I feel like a connection to it. Feel a connection to it. Let's see here. That is oh gosh, hang on a second. Arthritis. Ah, Jesus. Oh, there you go. That's all right. It's passing. So let me just see what we got here. Sorry, I'm like dropping my artwork there. There we go. Let's see. Good morning, Skip. Good morning, Skip Edwards. Yes. Hail, Skip. Steve Worcester says, hey, John. Skip replies, I believe the only dumb question is the ones that you don't listen to the answer. Yeah, that's a good one too. Yeah, absolutely. And I do think that the key to being able to have a productive life and have, some kind of sense of balance, let's say, for lack of a better way of putting it, is in your ability to have good faith discussions. Because if you believe that all relationships, and going back to what the Marxist principles are inherently victim victimizer or adversarial, you basically are mind reading people's intent. And so if you start out by saying you're guilty and you have to prove your innocence, which is what drives their mentality, which is an anti, civil rights, civil liberties kind of thing, then why would you listen to or think there's any value in a guilty person when they're talking? Well, you wouldn't. So you close that door to understanding. And being able to consider something and realize it's not for you or a waste of your time is useful. But if you never consider it and you preemptively do that, you're not going to improve. Sadly, you're going to be arrested development. Good morning, Julie. It's good to see you. Yeah, isn't that everything? Isn't that, listen, there are people who are just, noise pollution. And the only reason they want to be heard is so that they're the center of attention for however long they can hold on to it. And the reason they want to be repeatedly heard is to maintain that position of being the center of attention. But some people do not, and this blows their mind, some people do not want to be the center of attention. Some people are the center of attention because they are worthy of that particular kind of attention. So when I see, when we see Manny Pacquiao being the center of attention in boxing, it's not that he's tricking people. He didn't go, I should start my life in extreme poverty, and that's going to be really good for me down the road. I should be fighting for cigarettes and bags, or stealing cigarettes so I could resell them to buy bags of rice for my family. No, that's not what happened there. And so when you remove the concept, or when they remove, I should say, the concept of earned accomplishment, then the problem is that when they accomplish things, they don't feel like they can't feel any pride because they don't feel like they deserve it, because they don't think anyone deserves it. And that's a terrible way to live, just a really unfortunate way to live. Sorry about all the sirens, guys, but I do live on a busy street, so it is what it is. But yeah, and then again, whenever I hear those sirens, I'm like, people out there doing their jobs. Good to see. Thank them for doing their jobs. Sounds like an ambulance probably taking care of somebody who needs them right now. There we go. Starting to rough this figure in. Yeah, and so that's basically, for me anyway, that's the way that I tend to think about things when I'm working, and when I think about how we kind of conduct ourselves, is that it's stepping out of that cage of I have no agency in my life. That ultimately you got to ask yourself this question too, is that if people aren't interested in Shane and Yanzi and what they're doing, spending even a minute of their time obsessing about them is so counterproductive for what they want to do. And so my only conclusion can be they must they must represent something that this person subconsciously wants. You know what I mean? It's got to be. Um, I do not miss working on the ambulance, Eric. I can completely. Um, I don't want to say I completely get that because obviously I don't. I've never worked on an ambulance in my life, but I want to. I've been on one, but I can imagine. I can imagine it's beyond what I've experienced. And I thank you for your time doing so. Let's see here, John. Hope it's just a false alarm. Yes, absolutely. I always do too. And my mother-in-law is having a medical procedure done right now, so it's my gratitude is for people in the medical profession who can do things I don't do is obviously a little peaked right now because I'm thinking about her. Let's see here. Let's see. Yeah, morning hour. Yeah, is worse than my. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Let's see here. Back Jesus nonstop. There you go. Or is it Jesus? You got to let me know. Let me see here. Hello, Admiral. Yes. Okay. Cool. Yeah. The ambulance it's a tough way to start the morning. That's for sure. And let me see here if I can get this. There we go. So now what I'm doing is I'm just kind of throwing in a warm wash over there. One of the biggest mistakes people make with flesh tone in terms of giving it a sense of reality is you want to put, cools into the highlights and your warms in the shadow with flesh tone because when light hits a reflective surface, which are the highlights you see on flesh tone, the flesh tone is reflecting the light that's out there. Now, most light is blue because it's coming through that big blue filter. But then when it travels through the flesh, particularly like ears or breasts or hands or feet, even in that regard, and just also the surface of it, ears, it's going to illuminate that. It's going to bounce around and it's going to create red. So oftentimes in the shadow, you get a little bit of that red subsurface scattering that goes on, and that's a huge part of it. So a lot of times when people are like, "Oh, my flesh tone looks dead," I'm like, "I know it sounds crazy. Take the warms out of the highlights, put the cools in the highlights, and put the deepest cadmium red you can in the shadows, and watch it just pop. Watch it just come to life." And that's the thing that I always love to do when I'm doing my paintings. Is I love to play around with the warmth that happens. So, and unfortunately, I don't know if the camera can catch this. Even at 11 a.m. Yeah, clock's fast. We got about 7 more minutes here. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Eric, I love that. It's only 8. Yes. Love from your East Coast family, by the way, out to you, my friend. Even those crazy New Englanders. We love you, Eric, and we're sending you positive vibes. And for a wonderful day as well, let me just say. And so if I drop a warm in the shadow right there, I'm just going to like soften it as I go up. Now I'm going to take in a cool blue, which I know will seem a little bit counterintuitive to use blue in a highlight, but I'm just using it for our sake this morning for the examples. Learning to do warm in the shadows is a game changer, and particularly because so many people I think I was taught that way, and I heard so many students have told me that over time that they were taught that to put warms in the highlights, and I'm like, what? Like, it's bad enough to do that on your own, but you shouldn't be being advised to do that. It's the opposite of how light works. But if I go in and I put some of those cools in there, and then I hit a really good warm in the shadow right there, you start to see how it feels a little bit more like flesh tone. And that's kind of the key right there. That's what's going to give it that sense of life in it, is getting those warms into the shadows, which sounds, again, it seems like a paradox to us because we think of flesh tone as being warm, but we're not talking about what flesh tone actually is. We're talking about how we actually experience flesh tone in life, how we actually see it. And those are the kind of head fakes that are essential when you're studying art, is to kind of learn that things, how you experience the world is what you're trying to, what you have to really know well in order to communicate with the audience. So just dropping a really red contrast note in there on the belly button region is going to give a certain amount of believability and credibility to what's going on in the flesh tone. And I don't know why that is, but I know why that is, but it's, even if I'm just doing it haphazardly, not thinking about the lighting scenario, it's always going to give a lot more believability to put those warms into the shadows. And so, yeah, it's one of my favorite tricks. Now, is it always the case? Of course not. Nothing is always the case. But what I will say is, if you're trying to overcome that ultimate hurdle of getting your flesh tones to be more believable, then doing that as kind of like a high, wide, and stupid approach is incredibly useful, because it will, at the very least, it will not feel to the audience wrong. Your flesh tone won't feel dead. Now, the biggest problem I run into sometimes is I'm painting, vampires like this character right here. And you ask yourself, like, when you're painting, I'll ask myself, I'm like, how warm should the flesh tone really be? Now, granted, she's just drank a lot of blood, so I guess she would be a little bit warmer. But, what are the physics of vampires? It's whatever tickles your fancy, as they say. So, there we go. Put a little highlight on there. Put a little highlight there. And then, let me see here. Let me adjust my glasses here. Okay. There we are. Now it's starting to come together. And so it's, as I'm roughing this in, for those of you guys who haven't seen the layouts of this yet, I know a lot of you have, but let me just show you what those look like. Dang, what am I catching on here? I don't know. But this right here is, whoa, got to adjust it a little bit, let it focus. This right here is the layout for this page. And so there's going to be another figure off to the side right there. And then that's going to be, where the strength of this piece kind of comes from compositionally. So it's this character. The reason why this character is standing where they're standing is because there's two purposes to it. One of the purposes is to tell the story, right, and to show the scene of this character being feasted on. This is Nosfero when he was younger, being feasted on by all of these vampire brides, so to speak. And then the other, sorry, I just read that. Or someone needs to refill their pain meds, Eric. That cracked me up. Sorry, I missed that one. That one's great. But the thing about it is he's being feasted on by these vampires, and you're also seeing the werewolf character, who's going to be central as a guide and mentor for him in this story, is similarly imprisoned. So I don't want to say that I over intellectualize that or thought it. Some things just happen when you're working after a lot of experience. Is that so bad a life? Yeah, listen, if they're Hammer horror vampires, I have a really good joke that I'm not going to say right now, but I know you guys can feel that joke right now. You can feel it. But having him be in this kind of archway right there, and then having the prison cell that's sort of half underground that the werewolf is in, have that arch, really kind of has a nice symmetry to it and explains the connection between those characters. Now, I've been doing compositions and I think in story for so long, I want to make sure I'm clear that when I did that, it was just like, it felt right. But I can see how a lot of that stuff is just the internalization of doing so much comic book work and spending so much time on composition and story. So it's not always, I'm sitting down and going, oh, what is the big meaning of this? Sometimes it's just the way that your skills and your reflexes happen. It's like a lot like sports, I would imagine, in boxing, you're not thinking, if you can't react in a fight, you can't think faster than muscle memory in a fight. So it's almost like the intellect of the muscles. It's the same thing with reflexes when I'm painting here. It's not about having it all completely figured out. And I think, and honestly, I think when I do that, it results in dead work. So just so you guys know, I did do a layout page for this book. You guys have seen, or for this page, you've seen it. But all I did outside of penciling in these borders, I just went straight in with the paint, because I've been thinking a lot about it. I've been watching how Ethan and a lot of the guys work, and I was like going, why am I doing this piece over and over again? Why am I drawing it, turning it into a drawing, and then trying to figure it out? I should just go for it and see what happens. And I have to tell you, it does have a better effect on the page. I move things around, I edit it, but I'm going to do that anyway, whether I pencil it or not. So it was really funny to kind of, rip the Band-Aid off, as my wife always loves that expression, and sort of say, all right, I'm going to do, I'm going to really make this page happen. I'm just going to knock out the colors and values. And so like right here, for example, what I'll do is when I do get to this point where I'm like, finally like, all right, I've got the value enough to where I need to start paying attention to like little subtle notes, and to make sure, particularly because this is a bit of a character design here as well as just a figure. So I need things to kind of work. Nosfero's mask design, if you will, his or the logo that you sort of see comes from this cult that he essentially, this vampire cult that he grew up in. And they weren't able to turn him into a vampire for reasons that are unknown. It's almost like he's an anomaly. And, but he was able to, basically be the source of blood that never runs out and never turns. So he was incredibly valuable to them in terms of a means of basically them living off of him, which is a pretty almost Lovecraftian horror, notion. And but that's they all wear this kind of mask that is the same symbol that he has on his forehead and on his belt. And I liked the idea of it being kind of like a constant reminder of what he comes out of, and him as a character, giving some basis for it. It's not just a random symbol that he adopted, but it is a part of him as an individual. Let's see here, John Shanth. What was the course descriptions of the classes you taught as a non-artist? The course titles wouldn't do me much good. You can actually probably Google that. Shanth and Jetty classes or courses. You can, I'm sure you can find different stuff, but one of them was my class on mythomorphic character design. Then I would teach illustration 1, illustration 2. A lot of it was just the intros. Like I would tend to teach the same thing over and over again because, one of the things, sorry, my wife is sending me texts to tell me she misses me. Oh, that's sweet. And the procedure is progressing for her mom, so that's good. Hang on a second here. And, hang on one quick second, guys. I got to mute for a second real quick. All right, sorry. So to do some dadding. What was that? Let me go back and read that. Yeah, so what I would tend to do is I would teach intro classes. I loved teaching intro classes because you got a chance to teach people how to make artwork before, so that early on in their education, they would actually know how to paint and draw instead of just being trapped in the kind of, conceptualist, what do I think before what do I want to say before I know the vocabulary? So that was fun. And then I taught a lot of classes. My character design course was just an excuse in a lot of ways for me to, one, teach basics of design, but then also introduce people to mythology and storytelling and Joseph Campbell and all of that stuff. And those courses were a ton of fun to teach in the beginning. Certainly they become harder the more politicized any particular environment gets, and also the more Marxistly ideological it gets. Every old stories, the first thing you have to do is get rid of the old stories. So anything old story is seen as as something that is evil and manipulative, or something that has to get rid of, which is exactly how Mao was able to eradicate Chinese culture. The first casualty of cultural casualty of Marxism is always the culture in which it starts. So that's why so much of China's beautiful cultural history has been eradicated, but also its cultural sense of self. And I like to, because so many kids have grown up with, and young people, I should say, have grown up without, a guiding principle of mythology, or it's under constant assault while they're in school. I always enjoyed being a place where I could sort of remind people of the things that were so much missing in my own education, which is attention to learning the fundamentals, classical skills, and also the classics of literature, the things that have inspired human beings in Western civilization. So that's the gist of what my courses were like. So hopefully that helps. I don't know if that answers your question, Walt, but definitely that was that was what I taught. I basically was trying to teach. I was trying to teach something that was affirming of life and humanity and individuality and work ethic and aspiration. I would try to be, and it was certainly easier earlier on, but I would try to be honest with students. So much like myself, much like a lot of people who come out of art school, they didn't come out completely shocked that people expected you to be able to draw, show up on time, and have your work done. But you have to have other parents, so to speak, other teachers, and mainly administrators who believe in that and back that up. Because otherwise, it's like you're constantly being undercut, and you start saying to yourself, I mean, is this worth my time? Do I to have to argue with 50 people why I'm being honest with this person? It's sort of like if you go to the doctor and there's something wrong with you and the doctor tells you, the doctor's not your enemy. They're trying to help you, you know. And once you lose that kind of faith in that, you either need to find another doctor, but the doctor certainly, or you need to, you know, deal with what your issues are. And if you don't do that, then it's a waste of time for both of you. And so when you have teachers, and let me be really clear about this, when you have people who are teaching at an institution and they say, and these are things that are actually said, I don't know anything that you don't know, then why am I here? And why am I paying for this education? And then the other aspect of it is that, hold on one second. I got to mute again. One sec. Sorry. Parenting and husbanding. One sec, guys. Sorry about that, guys. Let me see here. Well, I didn't find the courses you taught, but did find that your students loved you. Yeah. Yeah, that was the students that I there were a lot of students that were so amazing, and it was really hard. That was the part that was difficult to leave. That's always the hardest part. Um, and I mean, what was it like, having me as a teacher? It's probably, I don't know, but it's probably not much different than what it's like sitting here in conversation with me. Only what I could do is I could say, all right, because here's the paints. Let me see your brushes. Okay, do you want to borrow mine? Here's a book. Have you heard of this artist? I mean, that was the coolest part about it. And it's the thing about it that I miss, and that's really, really difficult, is the way that some of the hardest working and best students used to be the how do I word it? Used to be the focus of these institutions, and I felt like more and more the students who work hard and show up were becoming less and less of the focus, and so they were kind of getting, um, they weren't getting the education that they were paying for. And if people, whatever's going on in people's lives, if people do not want to be there or they're not ready for college, that it's not something that I think is a crime that they need to be locked up for, but it is, to me, malpractice for administrators to disproportionately focus the entire education on people who don't want to be there and aren't ready. And that and certainly to poison the students into thinking that their faculty are out to hold up some crazy conspiracy theory system. When you're teaching somebody how to use gouache and paint, it's the nerdiest, dumbest thing in the world. It really is. When you start worrying that your participation in making artwork is more important than it is, which is the cool thing about artwork is that one, bad artwork doesn't tend to ruin, kill people. Frankly, it's not like a botched appendix surgery or something like that. It's and it's a little bit of a delusion of grandeur to think that it's more important than it is. But also, people tend to forget bad artwork. That's the one thing about bad artwork that keeps bad artists up at night who want to be thought of as geniuses, is that it's ultimately, bad artwork is completely forgettable. It doesn't resonate with people. So we, the chat, have become your God, no. No, you have not. All right, here's another one. Here's another one for you. That's a really interesting point. You know this. You guys know this. Is that you guys have become, in a lot of ways, where I have those meaningful conversations, if that makes sense. And that's the cool thing about it. And if you guys have questions, of course, I'm still a teacher. I'm still, like, in my head, that's like where I live. I would love to help people and give people answers, but I can tell you, after 18 years of being responsible for other people's kids, I don't want to be responsible, and how it increased in terms of what people thought was healthy for me to be responsible for. I don't want to be responsible for anybody's. I need a break from it. Being responsible for a room full of people's well-being and goals in life. Yeah, but I'll always love to share information, because people, some of the best lessons I ever got weren't from my teachers. They were from professionals who were telling me things, or just my father-in-law. And I think it's always important to, what is it? Experiences is what you get. Experiences are what you get when you don't get what you were trying for. I have a lot of experience, and I like sharing experience, because experience is helpful. Making mistakes gives you experience. Not doing things right gives you experience, particularly when you're trying your best and you don't do well. That gives you rich experience. And I think that we all have experiences. Have I ever worked on an ambulance? Nope, I haven't. Have I ever served? Nope, I haven't. I'm meeting a lot of people who have, and I'm learning that they all have their own experience, just like every college teacher isn't the same and every teacher isn't the same. And we all know we've all had good teachers. We've all had teachers that weren't so good. And I think that it's just an opportunity for me to learn and to meet people who are okay. Here's one. You guys are, if there's something that you guys are doing for me now, you guys are filling the role, and Comicsgate has been filling the role of a place where I can go to have the kind of good faith discussions and conversations that I used to be able to have. And a lot of us used to be able to have. And I think that's the thing that, more than anything else, I would encourage, that we need that in order to live and to survive, the ability to have good faith conversations. And I will always, I realize now that I will, that it's something I can't live without. So it's, what is it? This is I'm not going to say it because I'll butcher it, but go look up the C.S. Lewis quote on friendship, and that, it's the thing that gives survival its value. And that's really what it comes down to. Just like when Boomer paints off camera. Jeez. Oh, man. I got to make sure I keep this thing on camera. Here we go. Actually, let me move this a little bit. Adjust this. So, sorry, guys. Sorry for the lack of focus there, but let me give it a second so it's a little bit more focused. A. Hassan says, wow, please watch this and tell me if you like it. Okay. I don't know what that is. But I don't think you can post links in here in the chat, so I won't be able to see it. Let me see here. John, absolutely. Yeah. Wow, please, blah, blah. Okay, Teach, how much do you plan perspective? What's your approach? Well, I plan the composition. The composition dictates the perspective. But I can teach. I actually did a video on this channel where I teach perspective, and I can teach anybody perspective in a couple of minutes. It takes about 6 or 7 minutes to teach perspective. One of my little parlor tricks I used to do when I was asked to do open houses, shockingly, because people, would go to an open house, meet me, and go, "Oh, I want to come to this college because I want to learn that stuff." I would teach people perspective in 5 minutes, and they would just be blown away, because that's how I was taught perspective by my amazing mentor, who introduced me to perspective. I think Ethan actually did a video where he explains it in this way, but mine is a little bit more accessible because I think mine's a little dumber than his. His is a little bit smarter than mine. But yeah, perspective is definitely something. Thank you for the quote, Scottsley, and I shall read it. Let me see here. And actually, let me get back. Okay, Teach, how much do you plan on perspective? Yes, Babcrow Comics. I can do a quick little demo for you if you'd like. Scottsley, here we go. Friendship is unnecessary, like philosophy, like art, like the universe itself. It has no survival value. Rather, it is one of those things which gives value to survival. Absolutely right. Oh, this is a digital drawing for my daughter. I can't see it. Am I incorrect in saying that I can't see it? Oh, okay. So I guess I'm assuming it's going to be a link or something like that. If you just type out where it's located And I promise I will get around to taking a look at it as soon as I get a chance. But yes, I can absolutely take a look at it. Well, that was a little bit of a power jump we just had there. So hopefully I'm still connected here. But yes, yeah, digital drawings. I mean, I enjoy it. I do it. It's how I relax whenever I'm too tired to go over to my desk. I like to draw on the trackpad, and it's a really enjoyable way for me to work. I don't really use a Wacom too often, or I certainly don't use a Cintiq. My daughter is currently working with a iPad Pro, and she's enjoying it. Hang on one quick second here. Let me mute again. Sorry, guys. All right, go ahead, guys. Let me read here. We can't see any links. You may have to use private messaging. Yeah, there you go. Not seeing anything. Can we search for it? Yep, there you go. So yeah, it might be something that if you put a if you put how to like search for it, like the name of it and things like that in the chat, it might work. It might be better for people to be able to see it. Kind of get that to focus. Sorry about that. Yeah, links aren't going to show up in the chat. It keeps the bots at bay for us to have the link safety, link protection from it. But we shall see. We shall see. But yeah, I mean, it's the biggest rule of thumb I always say with digital artwork. If anybody wants some really good digital artwork advice, is the very first thing to do is to bucket fill either a gray or a color in that background when you start. It makes your life so much easier. Let's see if I can put a little bit of a highlight on here. And then let me check where we are time-wise. Okay, cool. All right. But yeah, I mean, it's there are so many great resources online for artwork right now that it really is. We're very spoiled for choice in the best sense. I learn, I basically whenever I want to learn something new or pick something up, YouTube is right there, and there's always a demo that's available. So if you check out my perspective demo and you just Google it, it's a really, really great demo for how to break things down. Let's see. Yeah, link prophylactic. That's true. John, you guys crack me up, man. You guys are sharp first thing in the morning, guys. It takes me a little while to warm up. I'm as sharp as a marble when I wake up in the morning. So it is what it is. But yeah, I mean, it's, I wonder how different sometimes my art learning and art education would have been with access to, the tutorials that are online right now. It's kind of I mean, I don't dwell on it or anything like that, but I'm sure it would be fascinating because it was just so much harder to get information, to learn like what kind of nibs does my favorite artist use. And now it's, I can buy a set of brushes of my favorite artist has released that shows exactly what he uses or she uses, depending on who the artist is, and they can be an artist anywhere in the world and you can get access to their tutorials. So it's pretty cool. Let me see here. Okay. So now I've got this figure more or less roughed in here. Did everything go well with your sister-in-law? Yes, everything is okay with her. And now we're on to, she's actually up right now watching, taking care of my mother-in-law who's having a procedure done. So, well, much love to her and gratitude, but she's a tough cookie. She's a real tough cookie. And I've known her since she was 15. She was the first member of my wife's family that I met. She's great. She's fantastic. And she's doing well. And thank you for asking, by the way. I appreciate that. So here's another thing we're going to do right here, which I want to show you guys. So I have this kind of, it's a comic thing, but it's a Frazetta thing. And it's something he probably got from, oh my gosh, what was his name? His one of his big mentors, Roy Krinkle. So it's probably something that Roy Krinkle did as well as, all the artists that Roy Krinkle was inspired by. But I love those old school illustration mist and fog that blows across, And John, thank you. I do appreciate your thoughts with that. And thank you for checking in on her. So John, the link was a video to a channel for a 12-year-old girl who draws digitally. It's called Rokaya's Art. Please go check it out. There you go. Excellent. And I will check that out as soon as I get a chance, once I wrap this up today. But I love the whole idea of creating that sense of perspective and then playing around with the interplay of colors with a nice kind of mist running across the bottom of the frame. So right in like that. There we go. And then it starts to kind of move across. I'll show you what I mean. It starts to move across and give you a real sense of foreground, middle ground, and background. You can sort of see how the figures start to come out. The dying days of YouTube. I caught one. That inspires me to keep going because I always feel like I felt bad when I read that the other day. And dying days of YouTube. I can make no guarantees because, as you know, and I'm sure it's the same for you, I never know what life is going to serve me up first thing in the morning. But is there a particular time that streams work for you? Because I would like to at least get in a stream that you can watch. And I know like late night is tough because as I try to get on more of a schedule with my family, sometimes that's the time that works best for people. But if you can give me a couple of windows and tell me what time zone, I will promise you I will try to make it work so that you can at least get in some streams, because I know you guys like to get a chance to see me work live, which is another thing. I thought about recording higher resolution videos of my working process. But for the people who like streams, and I was actually about to do that when I was working. And Julie's saying hello. And yes, absolutely, Hassan, I will take care of that. Let me see here. Old age ain't for sissies. Yeah, that's absolutely the truth, man. Absolutely. But it's one of those things that, I got to dial it up. What's up with this needing sleep? Sleep is how they get you. But let me see if there we go. That makes it a little bit easier. Let me see. I'm going to put something under here just so I don't have to balance it so precariously, or I'll move. You do this. I'm going to move this back. There we go. That's a little easier. Oh, but now the camera's blocking my view. Shoot. Let me adjust that down. Move this over. There we go. So, but yes, it's one of those things where I want to make sure I can do streams where you guys can see them. And I always feel bad because I go, if I'm in the mood to paint and videotape the process and I don't stream, then it's going to be, it's going to be one less thing that I do live that people can sort of see. So I always try to make sure that I stream whenever I'm set up for the camera, and I'm practicing different things to, get the quality to be less atrocious on these streams. Like before I started today, I just double checked because sometimes things get auto switched up on me. And sure enough, the mic wasn't on the Blue Snowball and it was on my AirPods, which results in some pretty diabolical sound quality. And I don't want the sound to be so terrible, when I do these streams. Actually, I want to check that real quick because sometimes it auto switches. Hold on. No, it's good. We're good. Yeah, sometimes it auto switches, so you don't get that kind of tinny sound. It's just very tinny. Let me see here. Yes, hail dying days of YouTube and much love. Drawing Mo Salah on Procreate 4 days ago. Yeah, someone's asking if that's the correct channel there. So let them know, Hassan, if that's correct. That's so funny. We were just talking about toner photocopiers as evidence that, sometimes these things all connect and line up. Excellent. There you go. One of my good friends, and for all I know, it's you, but one of my good friends who ran the copy and print place that I used to use a lot when I was a college student, and then even into my 20s, was a guy named Hassan. So, I had lots of fond memories of chatting with him about various technology and all of the various upgrades and, print management and all of that kind of thing. He dealt with a lot of artists, so he was a good dude, and I'm sure they added a little bit more gray hair to his head. You see here, with technology wired, it's always better quality than wireless. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's so true. Yeah, it's so true. I mean, my gosh, I when I heard them playing the dial-up. I think it was on John's stream last night. The dial-up sound, man, I had a flashback to when I used to, when internet used to be that. What's funny is I was so late to, getting online. I don't think I sent my first email till after I graduated from college. Like it was like my wife was sending out emails. She just, I don't know. She just decided to marry and fall in love with a cave dweller, which bless her heart. But the thing about it that strikes me as interesting and sort of compelling is that, the technology, the fact that I'm able to live stream, do a live broadcast of making artwork is something that a handful of people, not even a handful of people, would have had the capacity to do back in the day. So it really does free us up for getting our stuff out there and getting our work out there. Let me see if I can adjust my glasses here. Sorry again, guys. I found the channel and watched the Mo Salah drawing video too. Looks good. All right, there you go. Very cool. And she is only 12 years old. There you go. Yeah. So I guess that's the case. Nice. Oh, sweet. Appreciated. But I'm on Beijing time. So it's be diminishing returns in terms of views. Just need to pay closer attention to your reminders. Much love. All right. Much love, Dying Days of YouTube. I understand. So let me see here. All right. Yeah. The time zone stuff is crazy. All the global time zone stuff. I feel like sometimes I was born in the wrong time zone, that I should have been an Australian, because Michael and Rob operate when I would most typically operate, but then it's a terrible idea for me to get on that kind of schedule. I don't mind it. I mean, I can do it when I have to. Yeah. Sleep is something I have a very, I'm not really into it. It's not my bag. So usually when I sleep, it's because I'm collapsing from not sleeping for a long time. And I'd rather be painting. When I go to sleep, or like when it gets late, I'm always thinking of things I want to work on. And I really do admire people who are good at sleeping. I'm going to zoom this. Oh, don't want the ring light on. I'm going to zoom this out again just so you guys can see things a little better. There we go. Because I think it will help to give you guys a little bit more of a sense of scale. So one of the things that's really fun, let me see. Troglodyte, Luddite, either or. Yeah. Exactly, John. Let me see here. You guys are hitting my phony bone. Hey everybody. Okay, good, excellent. Dying Days YouTube saying hello. Yes, to everybody in the stream. So here's a really good example of how your youth can kind of affect certain things. Like there are elements of this area right in here that are very much about those family trips, to Disney World. That's what a lot of Orlando is kind of the vacation spot for anybody who grows up in the South. So we would drive down to Orlando, and I remember the Pirates of the Caribbean ride, and I loved Skeletons and the Haunted Mansion and all that stuff. So whenever I get a chance to, paint a shackled sort of skeleton like the old Snow White, what's his name? Gosh, I can't believe I'm blanking on it. Gustav Tengren and all of those artists' backgrounds. I'm never going to miss an opportunity to do so. And so just doing little things like, and I want it to be that kind of cool, creepy, cartoony version of a skeleton, like artists like, Tim Vigil do, and things like that. And so, and even Todd McFarlane, like when I think about his Ghost Rider, I just loved how was it a perfectly accurate skeleton? No, but it was cool. It was so cool. Mark Texiera as well, for that matter, did some really great skeletons and skulls for Ghost Rider's head. Loved that. Let me see here. Don't let passion impede your sleeping. Sleep schedule is a good thing. I know. No, you guys are good. I mean, I swear to God, like my wife was talking to me about this health diet thing called Noom. It's an app for your phone. And I was thinking to myself, like Comicsgate is almost like a Noom. It's got that quality where it's like, people are like going, hey, sleep's important, man. You got to cut out those carbs. It's not a good idea. I mean, it's like, we got ourselves covered. We got good people around us. We got Graham Nolan leading the way, for heaven's sake, in terms of being the example of fitness and health. He's in pretty good shape. And so, it's a question of, and I know Gabe works out too. My co-host of Double Impact on his channel, Gabe El Taib, works out. He's got all his equipment at home, and he's setting a good example for us. So, we've got guiding lights to follow and inspiration in our chat. Let me see here. Just a happy little skeleton here. Yeah, absolutely. Look at this guy. He's hanging out. But he lived a good life. Absolutely lived a great life. And I'm just going to give him a happy little friend right there on the ground. Yeah, it gets dark really quick when we try that one. Yeah. Bob Ross could turn something that sounded melancholy and sad on a dime. My favorite example that I always use of Bob Ross is when he goes, he's talking about his wife. God rest her. I know that was sad when she passed, but back before then, of course, he was talking about his wife, and he goes, about the only thing she lets me be in charge of when I get home is taking out the trash. And it sounded like it was going to just be a downer. And he goes, but it's good to be needed. I just was like, God, man, talk about being able to pull something like that out of the fire. He just always had a pretty good head on his shoulders for how to look at things, and you gotta love that. Gotta love that about Bob. And we're poorer for not having him around, that's for sure. Yeah, and this right here is a really good example of the challenges for me anyway of painting. Like I've got a highlight here around this skeleton because I want to define its silhouette, but then I've also got a highlight inside and around this foreground element, and that has the visually disquieting effect of having them seem like they're in the same plane because they're the same value. So it brings that skeleton forward, even though the color's shifting a little bit darker. So, oh yeah, beat the devil out of it. We say that all the time in our household when we're quoting Bob Ross. My wife and I love to do that and just beat the devil out of it. Absolutely. Yeah, when he do his, I should start doing that more. When I clean my brush, I should put it in the bin and beat the devil out of it. Yeah, and anybody who's had a painting go south knows there's plenty of devil in the paints. That's for sure. It's like, yeah, sometimes you just want to walk away from a painting when it's not working. It's tough. But I mean, again, this is another thing, that John was talking about. And I'm not saying this from a standpoint of, I'm above this or that or whatever. I mean, it's a legitimate thing. You really learn, whether it's teaching or anything you do. People who are disciplined can learn, and I don't begrudge people for it. How you learn how much you love comics when you sit down and you get 10, 15, 20 pages into it. You realize how much you love it. And it is a very weird thing to be passionate about making comics, and I am. Now, I don't think it's normal by any stretch. Like, I don't sit around and go, oh, everybody should want to get up, go to their desk, and paint these little squares and tell a story for like-minded people, who love comics also. But it's like the supreme blessing of my life. I remember when my kids had colic and they were up all night, I was like, I am so lucky to be a father. I just love being a dad. I love my kids. I love being a husband. I love my wife. Like, it's a weird thing. Would I tell other people they should do it? Nope. I wouldn't. You got to want it. It's got to be your thing. Yes, absolutely. You might have answered this before, but will the speech bubbles and balloons be hand done too, added digitally? They're going to be done digitally, and of course by hand. In the sense that I'll be using a different machine, but I'm going to do them digitally because I do sketch them in sometimes on the layout pages. But for what I want to be able to do, I like to be able to tweak the dialogue like I do with the paintings, that I can go back and work into them and adjust the color a little bit if I want to, if a later scene leads to something. That's why I don't write out a hard script for my story that I execute. I have a plot. I have a point A, point B, some of the places I want to make sure I get to. And this is the weirdest thing. I can imagine a character in my head. And then the first time I paint that character and I see that character, God, this is going to sound so flaky, guys. But it's real. The first time I see the painting of that character, the character starts to demand things of me. And I know that sounds like some hippie bullshit maybe, but it's real. Like it's how I experience it. Like I really care about these characters, just like, maybe it's like when I see different artists draw their character or someone else draws their character, I feel like there's a different emotional thing. And the artwork is something I make, but it is not me. You know, it's not, it's something I make. So sometimes I'll look at it. Like I certainly didn't make the pigments in the paper, but I look at it and it tells me things. So I try to let the story move how it's going to move. You know what I mean? Oh, Scottsley, my God, you must have better vision or a magnifying glass than I do. But I paint Warhammer minis, and man, those Citadel paints have a little extra devil in them. Yes, they absolutely do. So let me try this. I don't know if this is going to work, but I want to see if I can get this to work here. And see if I can find my buddy here. There we go. So my childhood friend, I mention him a lot on streams and things like that. And I think it's only fair I let you know he's a real person. He's the guy I went with to meet Todd McFarlane. He was the guy who introduced me to Todd McFarlane, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, all of that stuff. Love this guy. His brother was, played D&D with us. He was the guy who, like, the artwork you see in the back of the comic I did when I was 14, those are his D&D characters. But there's an Instagram link. That is my buddy, Zachary Hartford Cullis. I grew up with him. We used to sort of, run around and go to comic shops together. He was my comic book buddy. And you can see that his Instagram, he doesn't update it a lot. It's just kind of not his thing. But I did encourage him to get on there so I could see this stuff. But you can see the Warhammer minis that he paints. He's really skilled at painting Warhammer minis. I cannot do it. This is not a joke. Please, people, you can do whatever you want to do, but don't kid yourselves into thinking, oh my God, you'd be great at it. Look at the way you paint. No. Like, it's so, like, trust me when I say this out of respect. It is a special skill painting those. Do limit how much you will alter your paintings in Photoshop to avoid becoming lazy. I don't like to alter my paintings in Photoshop. So yes, I definitely avoid them. I clean them up a little bit if there's like dirt in the scanning process. I think what I'm going to be doing on this book is I may be photographing the work because I'm curious to, like, I'm going to do a combination of different things to see how it works. But yeah, I absolutely do, because I like to commit to the tactile quality of this, or else it would make more sense for me just to do it in Photoshop, which I think is, working digitally to me is just, it's another media. And I think the limitations of this are part of its appeal. Plus, down the line, if people go and look at the originals, I don't want them to be so completely different. Like, the print process changes colors. You see this with Frank Frazetta's work or any artist from the Golden Age. But I do want, when people see the originals, to go, wow, like, he made that on paper, And I just like, there's something I like about it. And by the way, it has been very, very hard. And it's still hard to let the imperfections show, because I used to be a neat freak. When I was first learning how to do pen and ink work and brush and ink work, if I made a mistake when I was inking, using whiteout and correction on it made me so frustrated. I would often go back and re-ink the thing from scratch with a light box. That's idiotic. Like, there's no reason to do that. Of course, now I get all of the Wally Wood, artist edition books and all of those things, and you can see all the whiteout. You realize, oh my gosh, these people were doing it. But I used to be, and even Todd McFarlane original has some corrections on it, but I used to be such a nut for and it's not even perfectionism, because the artwork you get is just so completely dull and labored. You guys are kind of paying for the texture of the paper. When you back this book, you want to have an experience with this artwork. And I think, oftentimes what I will say to myself is, who am I to deny you your experience with this work? I don't know what you love about this work. Maybe there's some little flourish or mistake I made on it that's going to be the thing you love about it. And if I eradicate it because it's not what I planned, I'm depriving you of that. I'm depriving you of what the paint was doing on the day. And I find it easier for me to stay in that zone painting wise if I define it in those terms, which is to say, who am I to decide, what you're going to love about it? There are favorite panels and drawings of mine that I love, that I know for a fact, when I've heard interviews, that the artists who created them, all they can think about were the limitations. They might describe it as, oh, I was being lazy on that panel. Oh, I didn't love what I did there. Oh, that was a rush job. I hate that project. And it doesn't change how I feel about the work, but it does make me realize that you never know what someone's favorite, work of art is. I've had students, this is funny, it's a little bit like teaching. I've had students who, after a semester where I felt like, oh my God, I just was so tired. Things were going on, at home with the wife and kids and family, that I was, someone was sick or someone was unhealthy or someone passed away, things like that do happen. I think I did a terrible job that semester, and students will be like, "Oh my god, that was my favorite semester. Like I loved that, and it was my favorite class." And I go, "Huh." So people are going to have their own experiences. Those orange Space Marines look sick. Yeah, he is really good at it. Like seriously, I really admire. I might. I've been thinking about it. I might pick up some of those McFarlane Warhammer figures, the Bandai ones. Like whenever I have money to spend, here's my problem. I can justify supporting Todd McFarlane because if it wasn't for Todd McFarlane, I mean, he did so much for me as a kid without knowing it with his artwork. However, I had made that comment when I was reviewing Patrick Thomas Parnell's book that I would love to know. And thank you guys for letting me know in the chat. I would love to know what the name of that Battle Beast character was and how to track it down. And you guys were all helpful. But then like the second I went to go purchase it, I looked at it and I went, could I be putting that money into backing a Comicsgate book, that I haven't backed yet that I want to back? And that's kind of the trick, isn't it? And it's weird, like to think about things. Like I know that people are going to still buy, like, it's not like Patrick Thomas Parnell's not going to buy, his G.I. Joe figures or any of that stuff. It's not like Ethan's not going to, buy the stuff that he's into, so but it is something I've been thinking a lot about when it comes to backing entertainment. Laugh out loud. It's funny because YouTube creators often mention the videos they work the hardest at don't go viral, but the whimsical ones do. You are absolutely right. And that's why I just trust in the process. Like when I put out a video and it doesn't do well, or whatever. I mean, it's weird. I don't even think in those terms. If I've had a bad day as an artist, it's because I didn't go to the drawing board, not because the artwork wasn't perfect. To me, it's all about the showing up thing, right? And the worst YouTube videos for me are the ones I never make, that I overthink, that or that I overthink them to the point of not making them. So I was thinking to myself this morning, like, do I feel like streaming? And the next thing was, I'll feel like it once I get started. And I'll, and can I stream? Yes, I can. So I'm going to stream. That's what's going to happen. And it's the same thing with, when I talk about to my kids about, doing work or, showing up for things and homework, which they really do a great job with all of that stuff. I'm impressed by them. They have their things like all kids do. And like, certainly like I did when I was a kid, but it really is just about showing up and doing the stuff and getting the stuff done. And, it's not every performance is going to be your best, but you can always learn from it and pick yourself up. And that diligence is what drives everything I do as an artist and as a parent. There aren't these days where you're always perfect. There are these days where you put in a great effort. And if you create the conditions for good things to happen enough, they just do inevitably. It's a probability game, right? And it's a total probability game. Let's see. It's funny because YouTube creators. Yeah, absolutely, guys. Just making sure I didn't miss anything there. But yeah, Scottsley, I mean, I really admire people who paint Warhammer minis and miniatures in general, man. That's an incredible, like, technical ability to be able to do that. And there's such beautiful artistry in it. People do all this like heraldry work and all this other detailed stuff on it, and I really admire it. The artwork that I'm interested in 9 times out of 10 is not based on how similar it is to what I do. Like that to me is the antithesis of recreation, is going and doing what you do for your job when you're trying to relax. And so I love looking at other people's passions and hobbies. I love looking at, people, the Townsends, they love 18th century cooking and 18th century skill sets. They pass those on. It's one of my favorite YouTube channels. Am I going to be doing that stuff? Am I going to make period clothing and build a log cabin? You never know, but no. But I love it, Oh my God, I love that. Yeah, one brick at a time is absolutely right. Absolutely right. Yeah. Fall down 7 times, get up 8 is one of my favorite quotes. I love that one too. And that without commitment, you'll never start. Without consistency, you'll never finish. Or sorry, without commitment, you'll never start. Yeah, without consistency, you'll never finish. And consistency is everything. So how does this book get done? For anybody who's concerned, anybody who's worried about any Comicsgate project that they're either working on, supporting, or doing, how does it get done? It gets done by the simple fact of the person who works on the project being committed and then being consistent and getting up every day. If I get up every single day and work on this book, it will get done. It's a certainty. And I will. So that's how you know. I've done 2 books before, and that's all I did at the end of the day is I consistently got up and worked on them every single day. How do I know my YouTube channel will grow eventually? I'm going to keep working on it. And Michael Bancroft talks about that a lot, and so does John Malin. It's that when it's not a success, it's because people quit. If I was an artist, if my commitment to art was based on me being the best artist around and just being better than everybody else and having tons of success as a result of it, I wouldn't still be an artist. It's just the consistency and commitment, guys. That's all it is. And you know this book is going to get done, and you know it's going to be good because I won't, stop working on it until it is, or not, sorry, I will stop working on it, but I won't allow for myself to not give it everything I everything I have. Almost died there. No, everything I have, which is important, if competitors can trash talk their competition to not perform, yes. Then we should be able to trash talk ourselves into performing. You're absolutely right. No, it's seriously, as what they say, the soul becomes dyed by the color of its thoughts. Yeah, I think that's really, really true. Put good stuff. Read Rudyard. Hang on a second, guys. There we go. Read Rudyard Kipling's poem if you have not ever read it before. It's a really great inspirational poem, and it talks about in so many ways the simplicity of things, like keeping your head when people around you are losing their minds. It's all about consistency, and the stuff that you put into your head. If you guys want, if there's something I'm doing right now where I'm being positive because I'm taking care of myself, and I have some regard and some value for you guys continuing to show up to these streams, I will put something positive out there, and that positivity and that industriousness is what you guys come here for. You don't come here for me to not be doing things. And that's what's kind of cool. I mean, how lucky am I that that the streams of mine or the videos of mine that do well are where you guys are sitting here keeping me company while I work. I mean, again, not to go all Lou Gehrig on you guys, but I consider myself to be the luckiest guy in the world. When I look at if you had told me that I was going to be alive at this age, with all the difficulties and stuff that was going on when I was a kid, and then I would have people who are actually so invested in what I'm doing that they would back it financially, that they would turn up while I worked to keep me company, I would not have believed you. And I'm so glad that I continued to persevere and that I continued to get up no matter how tired or how exhausted I was. It was the fact that I just didn't quit. And so many of you guys are where you are and able to back these books, support these projects, and create things to help create a vibrant and vital, pocket of art and creativity and fandom and enthusiasm and fun because of all the work you did, persevering and continuing to go. Whether you're working on an ambulance, whether you're replacing toner, whether you're serving your country, whether you're going in and doing, graphic design or print work, wherever you are in the world, it does not matter. Whether you're an electrician, whether you're a plumber, it doesn't matter. Whatever job you're working in, you're contributing to this time that I think a lot of us are going to look back on with a lot of happy memories and fondness, for how, I don't know, how exciting it is. I have a great time when I do this stuff. And I have a great time sharing this stuff with you guys. It's a blast. Hey, what's up, Sarah? How are you doing? There you go. Yeah, we're talking reverse trash talk and the love of gouache and watercolor. So there you go. But it's one of those things to where I could think about it all day that, there was that time in the comic shop when I was buying Pacific Comics Presents and Steve Ditko was working on stuff and doing a comic book short story called Missing Man. And it was this time when it was like you were collecting things and talking about this stuff. And it was so positive, and it was so not even positive. It was crazy. It was kinetic. It was alive. Oh, I'm doing really well. Yeah. Favorite subjects, comics, right? Exactly. And, it's kind of a weird thing because being industrious and getting up and going to your desk is what a lot of those guys were doing. I mean, Dave Stevens certainly didn't think. Let me see. Oh, very nice. Cool. Let me read this. Whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is of good repute. Yes. Yeah. Well said. If there is any excellence and if anything worthy of praise, dwell on these things. Yes. And I believe that's Philippians 4:8, if I'm not mistaken. And yeah, that's the stuff that, it's funny. I've been looking at those kinds of verses a lot lately, and it's funny how much wisdom is out there creatively, and how much artwork and how much, same thing goes with Gilgamesh, but I think that one particular resonance to me is if you keep yourself focused on those things, it is the key to being able to overcome these obstacles and persevere and draw, whether, whatever goes on, right? Whenever there's paper shortages or, I talk to people who are like writers trying to get artists and trying to get things to happen, it's, excuse me. It's, man, I tell you what, I gotta drink. See, hang on a second, guys. This is a thing my wife gets on me about. So for me, it's Orpheus. There you go. I will not drink water for hours. And that's a terrible thing. And so my voice goes dry and I'm like, what's wrong? Why is my voice malfunctioning? And it's like, because I'm an idiot and I haven't drank enough water. But I think about that when I think about the people who are making some of those Hammer horror films, or even I was reading an interview with last night, a Richard Corbin interview from like the 70s or something like that. And it was a really great read. He was just talking about how he views the politicizing of artwork, but how people view him and how, he met his wife. Like the people are asking him some like pretty personal but weird, like, questions. And time to break out the IV. You're absolutely right. Nothing like a little bit of saline to get you, saline IV to get you up and running. Maybe with a little bit of ground up Slim Jim in it or something like that, or Krispy Kremes, just so I can keep it real. But it was interesting to read interviews from a lot of these creators like Richard Corbin, and it's not unlike a lot of the things we're having conversations about now. And Richard Corbin has been a real influence to me because I don't think that the interviewer understood half of what he was saying in terms of, when he paints, he doesn't let other, they were talking about the way his work is perceived or understood or whatever else. And he was talking about how, that's not really what he concerns himself with. Hold on a second. I'm getting a bad highlight over here. I think it's the angle of the camera. So let's see if we can get that a little bit better. There we go. And he was talking about how, let me see here. I think you need a hydration alarm. Yeah, I do actually. On Twitch, my girlfriend points out that build up over time and watch the stream with those points. Hydration. Yeah, that's absolutely right. Yeah, we don't have that kind of system. Yeah, for me, it's just I have to go. It's like I just have to go and go till I fall off a cliff. And but it's interesting to read Richard Corbin, to read some of these people. They have a much more pragmatic view, regardless of how their stuff and their words are being interpreted. And just Richard Corbin was prolific because of the attitude he had when he made the work. Like he was making stuff he was all in on. And I think that the last couple of years with Art Books 1 and 2, the reason why I've been so prolific is because I've just been going. Like I haven't been overthinking and overanalyzing my work. You know what I mean? And I think overanalysis is for the birds. Let people analyze your work after the fact. Just make and create things. It's really the most important thing you can do with your time and with your work is to be productive as you possibly can be. And Richard Corbin, I mean, the reason we're talking about Richard Corbin isn't because he was let me move this camera over just a little bit here and see if we can get you a little closer, guys. The reason why Richard Corbin was such a, I got to move my sketchbook. Hang on, guys. I'm getting hung up on stuff there. The reason why Richard Corbin's work is great and why I have his book in front of me right now, the Angoulême exhibition catalog that I got on Stuart Ing. is because is because God, my voice is going. Is because he produced so much work, and I got into him late. I had seen his work growing up and not realized who it was and how many different things he did. And I had the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, reprint that he did the cover on, and I think he did some TMNT work. But the thing about it is that I had no idea that I was going to ever be painting and making work in that way, and what a kindred spirit his work was going to be. Yeah, getting him back in the swing of things. Super. It's so important. I mean, it's the discipline of doing this stuff, which, again, we were just sort of talking about here, is it's about, what we do when nobody's looking. It's like a lot of the work we do is just sitting up at night. Actually, I will say this, is that there's a lot more people looking in Comicsgate than there are in a lot of other art forms, in a lot of other places right now, because our audience tends to be up all night working. And, it's a crazy kind of thing to see, it's crazy to see that we're actually not alone when we're working most of the time. So yeah, things could definitely be worse and more isolating with doing the work. But fortunately, we don't have to deal with that. We've got people all around the world tuning in to see us make comics and make pop culture. And that's key. That's a key factor of it all. That's key to what makes it, what it is and work. And I think that a lot of the artists who are keeping crazy schedules, I know when I used to do this with my friends, were probably, on the phone with their buddies and, having conversations about, oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. And that's why a lot of them probably wanted to form, hang on, let me adjust my layout so I can see it. That's probably why a lot of them wanted to form studios, so that solitary lifestyle was not so solitary. But now we don't have to do that as much. It's, we can kind of work. And I'm just right there when you see me putting in this dark. Oh, sorry, I'm off frame here. Let me see here. It's been, I'm trying to get back in swing. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Gouache and Comics is like a multiplier, force multiplier for difficulty. But one of the things that I think why people, wanted to have studios and things like that was to be around other artists and to be around people that they could have those conversations with. And I think that's huge. At home drawing pictures with him on. Yes, that's right. At home drawing pictures of mountaintops with him on top. Lemon yellow sun. Little Eddie Vedder love there for you. Let me see here. We're due soon for a TMNT level mainstream blow up too. Yeah, I think we are, and I think this is where it's going to happen. Yeah, John, I hope you appreciated that. That was for you. That I embarrassed myself. That's the key. But then again, it's all about fun. It's all about love. So let's see here. I'll put his shoulder in here. This is kind of my fun little homage to Phantom of the Opera, which I love. I just sent the other night, I just tagged Phil Diaz on a Twitter post that was a black and white production still from Phantom of the Opera of Lon Chaney Sr. in the Red Death, the Mask of the Red Death, super important. Yeah, and I agree. I think I absolutely agree with that we are due. Let me see here. God, yeah, I mean, it's too funny. I just can picture this vampire villain, going which is what I used for. That's exactly what I used for the proof of concept serial that I'm developed, or that actually I've done some more work on. I just have to edit it and do sound effects and stuff like that for the Blue Coat, and that is the fun thing about it. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. Well, listen, it's exceeding my expectations, so I appreciate the vote of confidence. My impressions are, yeah, well, it's part of it's entertaining kids and trying to crack people up. My wife and I had this really sick plan that we did not go through with, by the way, but we thought about it. That I do such a great, or a good, let's say, because I've heard some really good ones. But I do such a solid Indian accent that she said that what I should have done is we should have raised the kids thinking I had an Indian accent. And then when they turned 18, sort of go, listen, children, there's something I have to tell you about Papa, okay? So Just I need both of you to sit down so that I can tell you something that's very important. Okay, so listen, here's the deal. I don't have an Indian accent, and I never have. I just kind of made that up because your mother and I thought that would be fun. But then again, I think my wife likes my voice with the Indian accent sometimes more than she likes my regular accent, which I don't even know what it is because I've grown up so many different places that I don't know. I had a Michigan accent, whatever that is, for a while when I grew up there. Southern accent would have been most of my life. So when I talk to anybody from the South, my actual accent I grew up speaking in comes out, which is a Tennessee Southern accent. And then New England accent, which is another one. When I talk to, I mean, I'm sure if I spent enough time having a conversation with Lord Crackhead 33, good old Jeremy, I would just drift so far into my Rhode Island accent, reacting off of his Massachusetts accent. John, I'm glad you like that, man. Yeah, these are the things that these are the things that make my wife and I crack up, our own dark, ridiculous sense of humor. There we go. Yeah, we have. I'm sure it's like this with a lot of people in their marriages, but we have so many bizarre inside jokes that are so stupid and glorious. And it's the same with our family. Same with the kids are a part of it now and everything. So it's great. So let me see here. I feel like I'm moving. And this is the thing about painting, guys. You can correct it. You can correct things. And I don't always. So let me get this camera a little bit more centered up so it's easier to see. There's less of a glare. Look at the sketch pad too. It's starting to trip up my wrist here. Oof. Oh, thank you, Hassan. I appreciate that. Yeah. I can only speak in a Canadian accent. Yeah, I can't do Canadian accents are tough, and it's funny because a lot of my favorite artists, especially including Todd McFarlane. I'm going to see if I can get this angle better so I can see, because right now you guys can see it pretty clear. Guess you could reverse it and do the Indian accent. That's right. Well, they're already grown up. They know all my tricks now. My daughter does a really good Indian accent too. She got that skill from her. Tough, eh? She got that skill from her old man. She can do pretty good voices and she can sing. She's got the ability to hear pitch, so that's useful. So let me see here. Okay, so when I'm looking at this layout page here, that hand. Got things all over the place here. That hand and arm. So I'm going to water down my paints here just so I can do a lighter sketch line for it. But I'm thinking that hand, as it's doing the well, actually, no, it's maybe not that far off. It's sort of, working its combination of alchemy, it's magic, it's science, it's a little bit of everything. Is going to be up at that angle, and I just want to make sure that that's. Because this is the interesting thing, right? Like, this is the stuff that serves a compositional purpose. All right, got to move this down. There we go. This is the stuff that serves a compositional purpose. So it's not always. There we go. I'll move that down just a little bit more. So it's not always that it's about, is that hand correct? Because I can get to the hands later, or I can get to, the gesture. This is the case where it becomes the angle. And yeah, I think I might be. And of course, sorry again, guys, there's going to be a lot of movement just so I can see. I'm going to turn off that light just so I can see the angles I'm working at. Let me see here. People used to ask me where I was from in my hometown, as my mom used to focus on clear pronunciation. Later, when I lived in China, my English oddly became Americanized. Yeah, that's absolutely true. Yeah, I mean, people don't. You never hear the accent you live in. Dying Days of YouTubes. Have you been to the States? Oh, there you go. That's the next part. The next question. Well, I think a lot of people are starting to adopt or have American accents simply for the fact of how much of the culture comes from us. Like, I hear people using American slang, even British artists and recording artists and performers, and I go, that's so weird to think about. That's not how people talk, in those countries. So it's like a uniquely American thing. There we go. Now he's starting to come together. So yeah, this is a tricky page in certain regards, or I should say it's a page that has a lot of demands placed on it. And the demands are that it has to convey a sense of the world. So it's got to meet all of those parameters of creating an immaculate reality. But then by the same token, it has to Boy, it's amazing what a little bit of water does for your voice, huh? I should look into doing more of that. Um, but it has to create immaculate reality, but it also has to tell the story, because one of the things that I am committed to whenever I do a story is this is too much work for it not to get you somewhere significant by the end and not to tell a complete story. So I want to make sure when I'm doing it that I know where I have to get to and that I get the most out of every page, because when the pages carry a lot of or a good amount of story weight or aesthetic weight, it frees me up for what I can do next. Yeah, I should do more water. You're absolutely right. I should do more water. And let me move. I'm going to move this back just a bit, and then I'm going to tip the camera up. Oh, that's a good shot there. That's a little better. And I think I can see a little bit, so that's good. If I move this up, there we go. Yeah, it's better than nothing. I'm going to move that down and then see if I can see. The biggest issue is the angle that I'm drawing. Oh, I know what I can do. God, I'm an idiot. Hang on a second. You leave that there, and I'm going to do I'm probably going to break the camera here, but I'm going to do a pivot right there. I'm going to move this up, angle this down. That will solve my problems. It's the angle of the camera that I'm running into the most. Yeah, drink. Yeah. Sadly, it's water you're trying to help me with. John, not yet. My close friend from CN is from West Virginia. There you go. I want to go visit, especially the South too. Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of cool stuff to see. But that's, it's true everywhere. The biggest thing that I love about the South is the cholesterol and the food, which is fantastic. Which I love high cholesterol food, sadly, but I'm working on it. I'm improving slowly but surely. And then move this over there, and then adjust. I'm gonna get better at figuring out this whole YouTube. Or actually, that's not bad too. Art layout, because it's either it's good for you guys and it's terrible for me, or it's good for me and it's terrible for you guys in terms of the view that you're getting. There we go. That's better. And you can kind of see when I'm painting that when I have a good position for my arm and I have a good position for the camera, that it starts to flow a lot easier. It's a lot easier to work. And let me see here. It's like everything, it's if you have one shoe that the sole is messed up on, it's going to affect your every other aspect of your day. It's going to affect your back. It's going to affect everything else, and it's going to be a nightmare. And it's cumulative. And so I try to make sure that I'm getting into better habits with how I'm drawing, what position I'm in when I'm drawing, and how I'm working. It's huge. Oh, nice. Yeah, I'd love to have you. Any other CG bogans you may want to drag along with you? Yeah, where would we be without our bogans? I think so much of my Comicsgate experience has been with my Bogan brothers. There was Rob sent me a message, and I was a bit out of it. I was so tired. I was feeling a bit under the weather. And but Rob sent me a message about this video that he wanted to crop widescreen to use for his for one of his streams. And it's really crazy to think about, like, how Rob and John Malin were so nice to come on the stream and help me walk me through my first stream and kick my ass to get onto a StreamYard, which I think is good. I'm sure there'll be other platforms we figure out that will be better and improve upon it. But for right now, it's the easiest way to have people on your streams and to kind of do do closeouts and things like that. If it wasn't for them, I would not have been able to do the closeout for the Goblin Girl. So really grateful to them for helping me with that. So yeah, love my bogans. There we go. Let's see here. Oh, let me adjust my glasses here. Okay, well, I gotta catch up here. I'm gonna be honest to this. The South visit is mostly about barbecue. Absolutely right. Hit Memphis. Hit Beale Street for some great barbecue in the South. Visit Graceland while you're in Memphis. Let's see here. Melbourne has been in particular a tough spot over the last year. Many of them wouldn't want to come back to Oz. Oh wow, that's rough. Yeah. That's rough. Yeah, I know. I've been keeping track of all that stuff, and I'm sorry to hear it. I know it's been rough. There we go. We get this line down there. And guys, hit the like and subscribe if you haven't. And thank you guys for spending this time. I do appreciate it. I really do. It's I appreciate the time that that we get to spend doing this stuff. It's not something I ever could have imagined a million years when I was growing up in Tennessee. That's for sure. I could have imagined cell phones, let alone smartphones, and let alone YouTube and being able to stream your own, your own process of your artwork, let alone people wanting to watch it. So much love. Let me see here. All right, let me get this in here. It's so funny too. Like when people talk about, drawing comics and story, one of the things that is a part of it is I do hear some dialogue, but I always hear a soundtrack when I'm working. So like right now, I'm absolutely hearing Toccata and Fugue. Fugue. I'm probably pronouncing all of that wrong. Apologies, guys. But I'm hearing that song from Phantom of the Opera while I'm working, and it's a really fun way to work. It's like I love movies so much, and I would never want to make one. Let me be clear. My friend Michael, who makes movies, has given me enough understanding of how complicated the process is to never want to fool with it. But I do love. There we go. I do love movies and sound and soundtracks and all of that stuff. I mean, that's the best part. Actually, I'm just realizing something because I'm an idiot, and I often will. I'm not used to glasses yet. I just got glasses a year ago, and boy, did I need them. And so I was drawing blurry. I did this Cyberfrog piece for Ethan, and I had to write him an email after I got glasses and said, "Hey, Ethan, can I have some extra time to fix this piece because I couldn't see anything when I was working on it." And he was nice enough to say, "Hey," it's like, "Oh yeah, we're not printing the cards yet, so work on it and send it over." And then I did the same thing for the piece that's in the fan section of the supplemental for Graveyard Shift. I contacted Mark Polton and said, "Mark, I know you guys are saying there's time to get in a few last minute pieces if anybody has them. Is there enough time for me to send in a revised version of that piece because I just got glasses and it's dreadful." And so it's I still touch the front of my glasses and I forget sometimes that I then can't see. Let me see here. John, wish there was something I could do to help. There isn't a huge American expat community in Oz, and most Australians have not a real concept of what makes the U.S. Yes, of course. Yeah, people don't know. As I always say, I've asked my students almost every year since I taught if any of them could tell me what Article 1 of the Constitution of the United States is. Just kind of a very basic question, and none of them could tell me that it establishes the legislative branch of government. Like they would say the First Amendment, they would talk about free speech, they would talk about all those things, but most people don't really understand those things. And I think that those are the things that we could do a better job. And I think a lot of us are of putting out there and explaining why these things are great. And it takes art to do that. It takes, things that I don't know. Part of me just thinks that we're in a situation right now where it really is just about showing up and doing it because just to sort of circle things back to Shane Davis's, quote unquote debate last night, was that when people are given an alternative, that is one of the things that you were asking me about what things were like when I was a teacher. My class's success or failure was largely the result of presenting an alternative to students that wasn't nihilistic, that didn't have a contempt for Western history, and certainly didn't have a contempt for the gaining and amassing of skill. If you have someone take a class with you and they gain a skill in painting and they suddenly look at themselves and see themselves improve, because improving in quality in my classroom were not subjective things. I never pitched aesthetics as a totally subjective thing. There was wiggle room, but in terms of, what makes this piece, interesting and this piece also interesting. But when people genuinely improve in their painting skills, they can't go back. It's so hard for them to go back to the way things were. It's just like if you never have slept in a comfortable bed, then you sleep in a comfortable bed, you're kind of ruined, And it's it's uh, it's so funny because well, YouTube's a really great example, right? Everybody has got a microphone. Like, how can people, like you hear a lot of or actually, let me not speak in total generalities, but I've heard a lot of people talk about, it's easy to put down teachers and put down, things like that. And I mean this, when I say this, I mean more like K through 12 teachers. But there are a lot of really good teachers out there who are incredibly frustrated and would love the support of, feeling less alone in terms of certain things that they care about and they want to teach. And I think we need our best teachers to do things like get on YouTube and let's support them. Let's support some of these great teachers out there to teach these things out in the world where people can learn about them and experience them. Jordan Peterson's done pretty well by having certain guests on to talk about these things, but um, you can have a huge impact on people by taking these ideas and making them more accessible. If there's a reason why these ideas are dying, it's because um, other ideas have done a better job of being more accessible for young people to get to. And the cool thing about that is that young people don't like listening to the same thing over and over and over again. So they're ready to hear it. And a lot of them are seeking it out. I think you guys would be surprised how much this goes back to that whole idea of, believing that young people and young students and uh, have agency and responsibility in their lives. If I was strictly the result of everything I was taught or told, I would not be the artist or the man that I am today. So that's the best thing in the world. Isolation is a key military tactic. What was that again? Yeah. Many Aussies are now realizing the difference between having freedom based on the Constitution and having a fairly passive government. Yeah. You never forget a great teacher, and you never forget a bad one. Yeah. What's so funny is that I definitely have some bad teachers I remember, but it's like I will tell you this: the teachers that I regard and the people who had a huge impact on me, it was, and this is something that other people I see people struggle with. It was never a result of how well my affection for them wasn't about how well I did in the class. It's how good the class was for me and my growth as a person. And yeah, I just think that I think that it's a miserable thing to you know be starving for that kind of thing. So if someone were to ask me, here's a really good thing. If someone were to say to me, "Hey, Shanth, I've got kids. I want to get them thinking about things differently. I want to get them out of this culture. Or I've got young people. What can I promote?" Do yourself a solid. Subscribe to the Townsend's channel, which is 18th century cooking, 18th century living. There is a ton of that stuff on their channel. A ton. They talk about the history of this country, the foundation, what people were really going through. They talk about, cooking. If you love cooking at all and you love great food, but they talk about the skills of, skills of like making a canoe, building a home, what the postal situation was like, what it was like for indentured servants living in this country. It's a really beautiful thing. And their whole idea is they're starting a platform, which is a streaming service, although they really need to get an app that works on Apple TV, Roku, and all that sort of stuff. But they want to do a grassroots history channel because they believe that so much of what people are seeing right now is not, hey, what's up, Phil? How are you doing, man? So much of what young people are being exposed to, there we go, that's a little easier for me, is not really useful history that they can apply to their everyday lives. And they do a great job with it. So for me, just bringing that back around, it was not easy and it did not benefit me in my career to be that teacher who teaches skills, talks about the benefits of skills. It leads to you getting turned down twice in a row for sabbaticals, even though you're doing a ton of work. That is what I have learned. And it doesn't lead to certainly getting all of the opportunities. It's easier to kind of toe the party line. But by God, when I was teaching, I rolled up my sleeves and I tried to teach people things that were actually useful. And Phil, it's great to have you. And I actually really loved. I showed my wife the pinball video. That was awesome. She loves pinball, loves that. So that was that was cool to see. Got to take a trip out to Chicago soon. I certainly will be going out to Chicago at some point to go to G-Fest, the Godzilla convention out there, because I do love me some kaiju. So maybe Shane and I or somebody will have to go out, and check it out because I know he loves Godzilla and kaiju. So he'll probably be game for it. There we go. I have a lot of memories of Chicago, but mainly they were the Chicago Comic-Con. But I have walked around the city before. Okay, so cool. So now I've got this starting to happen. I've got this figure coming together. We're getting that space. Thanks, man. Going to make another one about the X-Men arcade game. Nice. Yeah, I'd love to see that stuff. Yeah, a lot of the videos I watch are, gosh, here's some of the channels I watch. I watch that are non, Comicsgate or non, even comic related in some ways. I watch Matt's Rad Show channel. He went to Orava Castle in Slovakia and filmed the castle that Nosferatu was shot in. I like, God, what's another really good one I like? Townsend's is great because I learn a lot about history. It's what actually inspired me to finally bite the bullet and start practicing and learning the violin. Let's see, what else do I like to watch? God, I'm sure there's a lot, but I'm like blanking on them right now. But I like anything that I can watch that's going to put creative fuel in me, and that's the thing that's wild about it. Yeah, absolutely dope indeed, Admiral Wackass. Yeah, and for my toy collectors out there, I love to watch D Amazing. I love to watch the Review Spot, who I believe is another fellow Canadian for my Canadian people out there, and yeah, I mean, there's no shortage of stuff that I like to watch and like to be inspired by. And so I want to try to put stuff out there that I think is, it's about having fun. It's about doing things, but like the more that people hear, certain things get talked about and discussed, whether it's history or the Gilgamesh epic or particular fiction or works they can read that will affect them positively, I think the better things get. And so, yeah, everybody's doing their part to kind of make that happen. So here are the pages from the book that this character has stolen. And hopefully you guys can see that. I'm putting them down on the desk. Let me see here. Yeah, Toy Galaxy is a good channel too. Yeah, I watch Toy Galaxy. What else do I watch? The Review Spot, Toy Galaxy. Oh, the Fwoosh. Whenever I need to hear a Southern accent. I watch that channel. But there's just so much. There's really a lot of cool stuff to watch. And so some of it is for informational, purposes, like I learn cool things or just inspiration in general, and I'm always looking for cool stuff to watch, and there's no shortage of it. And so I try to think about whenever I do my stuff. Oh yeah, I'm feeling it now, guys. Whenever I do my stuff, there we go. I'm always thinking about the fact that, these people are just doing a million things and trying them out and throwing them against the wall and seeing what sticks. And I'm sure that, when he went to Orava Castle, he's just trying to fill up YouTube content. He takes a lot of trips, but he also goes out to like old car shows and things like that. He has a great video for anybody who's into rat rods. He has a great video where he goes to a rat rod convention. Shanth, do you have any Moravian communities you could visit near you? Very historic. Actually, I do not. But tell me more, John. Tell me more. I'm sure I might, but I have to know what it is first. And my brain is operating on like 0% energy right now. I'm starting to fade out. So let me see here. But yeah, guys, let me see. So let me get this in here and then I'll wait to hear what, I'm sure we do. I mean, this is New England. It stands to reason that we do. You see here. There we go. Just adjust the glasses. Adjust the glasses at work. But yeah, I mean, it's the thing that interests me about culture and interests me about building culture or creating vital or inspiring culture is that it requires skill. It requires a lot of skill. And so, for me, when I'm creating videos for even for my own channel, I'm always thinking about, I want people to feel like they're excited when they come in here, that they're hearing, music and audio and they're ready to be there, and so, I spent a lot of yesterday, kind of tightening up my intro videos a little bit, adjusting, outro videos and just fixing them. And I was saying to my wife, this isn't the work that a lot of people think of as being a part of the day, but it is the work that's going to help us to grow our audience. And I used to do things like that for free when I was working in academia, because I was like, listen, guys, we gotta fix up this website. We gotta fix up, all of these things. And it's amazing how the problem with that is that when people don't understand those things and they don't appreciate those things, they benefit from them without really having to appreciate and acknowledge what goes into it. And I find it's a lot more rewarding to do it for my own stuff, because it's like, when people see that you put time and care into making things look good and they appreciate that, there's a lot less things to kind of attribute success to. So it is what it is. Let me see here. Okay, I've been here a few times. Old Salem is a historic district of Winston. Yeah, I know that one. North Carolina. No, I haven't. That was originally settled by the. Oh, really? Cool. I may have to plan a trip. That sounds awesome. North Carolina. That's very cool. Yeah, I think I may have to check that out. That sounds awesome. That sounds right up my alley. So yes, I will be doing a Google search of that. I'm really glad that the live chat for all this stuff gets saved, because it allows me to go back and search things. Once my brain settles after a stream and I get a little bit more rest in. But yeah, guys, look at what we've been doing during the stream. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Everybody's saying their hellos. There are likely similar things in Europe. Yeah, I don't doubt it. There's no question, because we've got so many things to do. We're really spoiled for choice. About the only thing that we're not spoiled for is time. That's the one thing that I've got to, that I think is always the thing that we're working against is having enough time to do everything and that we want to do. And I mean, when I say that, I mean, all of the things are important to do too, like streaming. Sometimes I just say to myself, look, I got to get sleep or I'm not going to be good to anybody. And I really want to do a live stream, but, and talk about art, but I'm just, I'm too strung out to really do a good job on it. So I have to kind of, I have to go and get some sleep. It's like that. Speaking of which, guys, where are we at? We've been going for about 2.5 hours. I got to get some food, get something to drink, and check in and see how the medical stuff is going for my family. But, for my mother-in-law, but I want to thank you guys for coming in here and for being with me this morning while I worked on this. It is never lost on me. And thank you for backing Nosfero and supporting the work that we're doing. Guys, I'm making a beautiful book for you. And I think and I'm telling a really, really solid story. I'll say that much. Well, I'll leave the rest up to you guys in terms of evaluating it. But I really do appreciate you guys being here and doing the work, or being with me. Yeah, thank you, Phil. I appreciate that. Or being here while I'm doing this work on this stuff. And I'll pan up to show you my cheat sheet just because I think you might find it funny. But there's a copy of Grips. There's my eraser. And there right in front of me is a book that I have up right now for inspiration, which is my Richard Corbin book I was showing on stream the other night. So I love to have that stuff out where I can see it. It's always a source of inspiration. Guys, thank you so much. Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it, man. It's so great to be here with you guys. I can't tell you enough how much I appreciate you. And so have a wonderful day, everybody. And I'll be back soon with some more videos and some more live streams, I promise. All right. Take care, everybody. And we'll close out with some music and re-edited closing video after that, if that sounds good for you guys. Take care, everybody. Stay gold. Much love. And thank you. And yes, indeed. Bow. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Here's a little something for you busters. Yeah.
You're not even learning anything on the street.
Yeah.
You think I'm stupid, son?
Yeah.
You know what I'm trying to say to you, boy?
Yeah.
Do ya?
What's up with that?
Look at me, damn it!
Y'all cowards don't even smoke crack. What's up with
You
that?
smoke crack, don't you?
Y'all cowards don't even smoke crack.
Look at me, boy!
Hey to
You
you,
smoke crack, don't you?
don't even smoke crack.
You know what that does to you? Huh? You smoke crack, don't you?
Smoke crack.
Go on and do it expeditiously.
What's up with that?
It kills your brain cells, son. It kills your brain cells.
Don't even smoke crack.
King Kong ain't got nothing!